we are live. Let's do it. Let's go. This is Damage Per Second Podcast. Damage Per Second Podcast, episode number 76. We are here on another fine Thursday evening. Shout out to some people out here in the chat. What is up, Stardust? How's it going, bro? What's up, Mitchy Dies a Lot? Ramon Terrell, the actor extraordinaire, man. What's going on, bro? And Erodimus, the homie Erodimus in the house. Hope you guys are having a great evening. I know I am. And let's go ahead and introduce the panel as usual. What's up, Bunty? What's up, Bunty? Game and Forte, my co-host. What's up, bro?
Oh, what's up, man? How you doing, man? It's been a very great day, great week. We got the boy Deli here. I mean, shout out to you, man. I've never seen.
Introduce him first, man. You just gonna be.
Oh, okay, whatever. Well, people can see his icon. You make it seem like you act like people can't see his icon, but whatever. But I was now I don't even want to say what I was going to say because you literally just wanted to just tell me
after I introduce him.
No, I was going to tell you how amazing of a job you did by making those making it so easy for us to find the topics for today's show by including links and everything. You know, that's something I think you need to do more on a regular basis. I appreciated that.
Well, I do that for the guests, you know, because usually, usually we just.
Yeah, I know. The guests get special privileges when they show on this show, especially when we got the one and the only person that you're about to announce now. Forget what I said 20 seconds ago because you guys don't know who the actual host is. It's not like you can see his freaking icon sitting right here on the screen. But go ahead, Slow-Mo. Introduce the man of the hour.
You're when you start yelling, your voice is peaking. I don't know what's going on with.
Well, you didn't want to turn that down, then, sir. That's what that is.
It's not me. It's you.
It is you.
It's your
not
mic.
me.
Your mic.
My mic is definitely not peaking, especially when it's only at 3 recording game.
Is peaking, sir.
It's beginning to go.
Anyway, look.
Here we go.
It has been said already, but let's just go ahead and do it anyway.
Nope, say it again.
We have returning guest, Agent Deli in the house. Deli, how's it going, bro?
Yep. Thank you guys for having me back. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody in chat. My name is Deli. I'm a former game designer at Ubisoft, and now I hang out on DPS.
Nice. Appreciate that. I appreciate your mic not peaking. You know,
is my mic still peaking, sir?
You're much lower now.
I think you're much lower now. Yeah.
Yeah, you need that, but you need to kind of like balance it. You know. Well,
my God.
Go ahead and work on it. Go ahead and work on it, bro.
No, I don't want to work on anything right now.
All right, you can be emotional over there. It's fine. We're gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep it going.
Just like all these people with this Halo TV show today was super emotional.
We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. We do have a couple of little small, like quick hit topics that we're gonna get into before we get into the main topics of the night. Chris says I'm low. Music is louder. Okay, let me make some adjustments.
Right, go, Chris. Who sound better? Does the Slow-Mo sound better, or does Forte sound better, or it might just be Deli? Deli, he got that $1 million mic, because he puts out games that are, we wish we could only dream of what the budgets are attached to.
Yeah, if I had the budget that Ubisoft gave us for Watch Dogs Legion to make Halo, I would be so much happier.
Man, I can only imagine what that budget really was.
Let me front run season 2 of Halo, please.
Want to be the showrunner?
Yeah, I just need somebody in the helm that actually will play a game, open a book.
Oh man, hey, look, let's not.
Sorry.
We gonna get there. Let's not. Unload all the rounds.
Okay. I have nothing but slander for the show.
Hey, look. I'm not gonna be completely negative on it. I'm gonna have some good things to say. We'll get to it. Anyway, shout out to everybody that's coming through in the chat. Appreciate you guys, of course. Let's get to. Well, first, let's talk about some games that we've been playing. Deli, what have you been playing lately?
I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring, to be honest with you. I haven't picked up GT7 yet, Gran Turismo 7 yet, just because I'm taking it one game at a time. But right now, at 62 hours in, so 60 plus hours in Elden Ring right now. I think I have like 4 or 5 more bosses, but I'm mostly just roaming around, digging through the catacombs and just taking my time.
Nice. Forte, what have you been playing?
I just started playing Elden Ring a couple days, well, not even yesterday technically.
Really?
Jump back. I started. I did the character stuff, and I'm going samurai look and all that other crazy stuff. I'm trying to be nimble, get my dexterity up and everything, but haven't really dived that deep into it. But that's a game that I plan on really diving into, especially over the next week or so. Before my vacation, probably gonna put some major time in it on my vacation, which starts April 1st through the 10th. Who can't wait for that? But played some more Tunic. Only put like about halfway through it right now. It's a real short game. I'm only doing like an hour at a time, and then of course Destiny. But I'm kind of winding down on that since pretty much all the seasonal story stuff is out of the way. So I pretty much only got like another couple of weeks in that before I take a nice little month break and get into some other stuff. But yeah, man, it's been really, really cool. And definitely my kid got all A's and 1 B on a report card today. So I'm super excited for that. Being a dad, it's really, really cool. But yeah, that's how my day has been today. And the week has been even better. I'm here with you. That's why.
That's what's up, man. I love to hear that about the kids, man. Getting good grades is definitely where it's at. My daughter just basically just got literally all A's.
Facts.
So I'm like, that's.
And I ain't even have to bribe her this time.
Well, I never with her when it comes to, I never have to do any of that. She's just on top of it. It's just in her.
How old is she?
I mean, she's only 6, so.
Look, man. Wait till she gets a little older, where material things matter.
She's killing it. She's killing it. Anyway, like what I'm playing, of course, is we see in the gameplay here is Elden Ring.
Elden Snore.
I mean, if it's. Only other thing that I've really been playing outside of Elden Ring is occasionally trying to get through Rogue Company's Battle Pass, and so and trying to master rank some of some of my rogues. Shout out to the Ashen Luca with the $5 super chat. Says your break gonna last until I say I need help in Destiny with the devil face. So I think she's saying that.
I don't think Luca ever coming back to Destiny, man. She would have been back, but she beat. How long ago did she beat the game? Like a week ago.
A week ago. Yeah, she's still playing.
And she's still and she ain't even logged back in. She ain't logged into Destiny yet. The season's halfway over. So I don't think that. Listen, I don't think Luca coming back, man. Let's be for real.
And that would be a good thing. I actually need to go ahead and just beat the campaign that I paid for, so I can go ahead and just uninstall that thing like I normally do. I will probably get back to that once I finally get done with Elden Ring. With me with Elden Ring, it's just like. I got other games that need to play, man. I'm trying to finish that campaign with Destiny. I'm trying to finish the campaign for Horizon Forbidden West. I just like there's so many other games that I want to get back to.
How far are you, Horizon?
I'm about halfway through Horizon.
Oh yeah, it'll be September by the time you beat that game.
Hey, as long as I get it done this year.
It'll be yeah. Shot. Yeah, I understand what you're saying there.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and get into the topics here. Let's go ahead and get into it. So first topic, of course, is about Hellblade 2, actually. And what I thought was pretty interesting here, some information I saw this week in regards to the combat designer talking about the combat experience, comparing the first game to what they're working on currently with the sequel. And I sent you guys the link for that. Deli, what did you think about what they were saying about the combat?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Let me look at the link real quick. Sorry, I was watching your Elden Ring gameplay and I was just mesmerized by how.
Oh my god.
How it's very noticeable when you're losing a fight because you're like 6 rolls in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
6 rolls.
It's not going well. Look, and the Halleck tree, man. Look, I am struggling. Okay, like
I just got there too, so I feel you.
like I beat the
Oh my
game and I go to
God.
the Halleck tree and I'm struggling. Like I it's like, well, what's going on? Regular enemies are just hurting your boy. But no, like so like, I'll talk about, well, I'll say some of the quotes here from the combat designer. So this guy actually was part of the combat design team for the first game, and he's talking about, what's this guy's name? His name is Juan
Fernandez.
Yeah, Juan Fernandez, and he says we're raising the bar of doing more with less. We're more people than the first Hellblade team, but the quality we're giving versus the team behind it compared to similar games, I think is through the roof. What I like about Hellblade 2 is that it's a very unique approach. I think it's going to have an impact like Hellblade 1, but for other reasons, because obviously there's a lot of things that were new in the first game that will have less impact in the second game, but there's a whole bunch of other new things that will have that impact. What I was least satisfied with in Hellblade 1 was the lack of enemy variety. The long-range combat was stifled, and the balancing stuff, the way the difficulty systems were tuned, the enemies had too much life, they had too much durability, and it got tiresome a lot of the time. We had a lot of variety of attacks and combos, but the enemies didn't really encourage you to use one or the other. People found 2 or 3 moves they liked and just repeated them constantly. We were very generous with parries and story timings that would be balanced more intelligently. And so like I thought that was pretty interesting, because these are some of the complaints that I had about the combat. And I like to see the fact that they have acknowledged those things and are addressing them, because really that's like a sign that really things are going to get better. Now, after repeating on that, Deli, what do you think about that?
I think that their freshman effort in Hellblade 1 is definitely like they're up and over the hill. So for me, this translates to something along the lines of like, we recognize what we're doing. We recognize that, we dipped our toes into this genre, into this style of cinematic action adventure gameplay. Mm-hmm. And now we're just ready to take it to the next bar. Something that they implemented in the first Hellblade, as you said earlier, is like generous parries, story timings, 2 or 3 moves that people liked and repeated constantly. That's something that like they realized that just touching on the surface, like just having a mechanic work, was serviceable for the first game. So going into the second game, it's like now that we have this mechanic functioning and everything, the foundation, everything is fine. Like nobody complained about the combat in the first game. Nobody complained about like, oh, there's only 2 or 3 combos. Like just because it's serviceable means that it's passable. Now that it's serviceable, it needs to be better. It needs to be actually working at a level or an experience or an expectation that they want as a studio. And I think that Hellblade 2 will probably most likely go above and beyond 2 or 3 notches from the first game, just because of time, attention to detail. I'm sure they expounded their studio, technology, and a bunch of other things as well too. But yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Forte, you about to say something? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna go follow it up, because one of the few games that I beat, you know how it is, Slomo. I love that game. I actually made it. It's like literally the only game that's on my channel that I love so much that I actually did a review for on my channel and stuff. So that game, when I sit there and I think about the combat was like literally the last thing I even thought about in that game. Like I look like Deli just said, it wasn't even the main focal point of what that game was. It was about the interactions, the experiences, the overall just paying attention to all the nuances of stuff that's going on. It was just the atmosphere was mostly the thing that drug you through that game, and I enjoyed every minute of that. And I think one of the weakest parts of that game was the combat, especially when you're at the very end and you're on that bridge fighting to get all the way to the very end, and you have to keep fighting this ever long list of people to just keep coming at you. It was like the worst thing ever, and I was like, yo, I think I'm on this bridge for like 20 minutes. It's been 20 or 30 minutes fighting on this bridge trying to get to the end. I was like, I don't like this because this isn't the best part of the game. But it worked, and I think that was the thing that they definitely dove into. They said, hey, combat actually is good. Is it great? No, but it actually works. You feel like you have weight behind your attacks and stuff, which is something I can't say for a lot of games. When you swung your sword in that game, you felt like you were swinging your sword. It was just really janky in the animations and stuff that they actually had in there. But I do think that everybody's going to be looking at this game in particular, because that wasn't just the weakest part of the game. It was by far the weakest part of the game. And I think with them amping it up into a grander scale, that should be the number one thing that they tackle, because I think they have everything else in spades when it comes to, like, they already have the story design in place. They already have they already have the motion capture in place, so you can actually feel like you're actually a part of the fight and everything like that. So I'm looking forward more than ever to what they do in that combat system to kind of make that a little bit, not even a little bit, a lot better for people that enjoyed the first game.
Yeah, like I agree with both of you guys. I especially with the whole the bridge thing with all the enemies. I felt like in there something that he said about balancing stuff is that, like, the game isn't very balanced when it comes to the puzzle aspect to combat ratio. There is far less combat in the beginning of the game, and then it increasingly gets more and more combat and less puzzles as you go further. I thought the puzzles were awful, and I think for the second game, I would just rather they just not do any puzzles at all. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, have some light puzzles in there, because that, the first game had puzzles in it, so maybe you can say that's the staple of it. But I would prefer way more combat and far less puzzles, especially if you got puzzles that aren't very good, or the execution of them wasn't all that great. I would just prefer it the way, probably the way things were more in the last part of the game, but maybe not as linear, as linear as it was. I do think that only having one weapon the entire game was kind of, the thing is that combat, I thought was good, but it wasn't.
You had two weapons. You had a blue sword at the end of it.
I mean more weapons. I mean, like, different kinds of actual, like, maybe, like,
you had a lightsaber that was really sharp at the end of it. It was really cool. That was a cool looking lightsaber.
Or a bow and arrow or something. Just other avenues to combat. And I feel like it seems like, based off of what he said, that's definitely what we're going to get eventually. Go ahead and move on to another one of our quick hitting topics, and this one is in regards to Humanoid Studios, which is there we go. All right, so Shinobi on Twitter, Shinobi602, did a tweet a few days ago talking about Humanoid Studios, and Humanoid Studios has revealed some concept art in regards to their new game that they're coming out with. And surprisingly enough, it's not an RPG. It's actually a character-driven narrative game. So when that description, I'll see what you guys think about that description. That to me kind of like spoke to the kind of game that you would see like Telltale would make, a Quantic Dream, Supermassive Games. Did you guys get that kind of vibe from character-driven and narrative game? What do you think, Deli?
When somebody says character-driven, for me, I think of like side quests, NPCs. So I do think of an RPG game. Okay,
so you still think it'll be an RPG?
I think it'll be. I don't know. I think it'll be more RPG like the Outer Wilds and less RPG like Skyrim. Does that make sense?
Okay. You said the Outer Wilds, not the Outer Worlds. The Outer Wilds.
Is it Wilds? Outer Worlds? I can't. What the one that made by Obsidian.
Oh, that's Outer Worlds. Okay,
Outer Worlds. Okay, my bad.
Oh, I would love it to be like the Outer Worlds. I love that game, so that would be great for me. Cool. Yeah. Forte, what do you think?
No, I was thinking the same thing, like character driven, that's something that they already, Casey Hudson, that was something that he was masterful in when it came to the games that they made when he was at BioWare. You know, you think of Shepard and how driven, like everything was driven around that one character. And I do agree with Deli. I do think when you're talking about the NPCs and stuff in the game, that does speak to more of what they're doing when it comes to the narrative inside of that, because the character is being driven through all the different NPCs that they're going to interact with into the game. I don't know if it's going to be an RPG. Maybe he wants to try something different, but then again, you know, I think that's where he kind of cut his teeth at when it came to most of the games, and I think he doesn't want to stray too far away from that. But I do like the concept art. It gives me more of a we definitely getting more of a futuristic look into it like this, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of exploration and stuff in the game from just the different screenshots that they shown and stuff. You're going to have your diplomatic stuff, it looks like, when you got people sitting in, like, no one really knows what any of this stuff really is. But I am a huge sci-fi fan, so as soon as I see astronauts and space and stuff like that, I'm not saying I'm 100% in, but I'm definitely interested and what they're doing. And with Mass Effect being my favorite franchise of all time, I'm definitely going to give this more of a closer look than anything else.
But for me, I definitely kind of took it as, well, one, I'm happy that it's a AAA game, because I see a lot of developers, they leave big AAA studios and they're like well-known developers, and they go off and they make their own studio, and they're like, man, I'm gonna make games my way. And then it turns out it's like look, I know this is gonna sound negative, and I don't mean it to be, but it's like a AA game that's not of the same like level of,
how dare you,
like, some AA games are great, absolutely great, and some of them, you know, aren't. And I understand that people want to be innovative, and sometimes you just don't have the budget in order to be able to do that on a AAA level. But it's good to see that a lot of the former BioWare developers are working on AAA games with studios that they have the creative freedom to do what they want, and don't have some big parent publisher telling them what is and is not going to work for their kind of game. So I'm just happy about that. But I do think that it's, I don't think it's going to be an RPG. I just got this vibe, this feeling that it'll be something that's more along like a Quantic Dream kind of game, which I'm all in for. You know, that's fine with me. They Casey Hudson, outside of the Mass Effect 3 ending, he's cut his teeth with really good RPGs and really good stories and really good characters. So I think he understands that. He understands how to create characters that people can feel for, people can you know, care about, kind of characters that people cosplay at Comic-Con conventions and crap like that. So I think that's what they're aiming for. Now I hope it turns out well like that.
As long as the worlds feel lived in, and like time passes when we're not, like if the world feels like time passes when we're not playing the game, then that's really all that matters to me. I'm cool with it being RPG. I'm cool with it being linear. But again, when somebody expresses that character driven and narrative focus is at the forefront of their mission statement, I need strong side missions, because like the golden path is fine. Like I could deal with that being lackluster, or like, you know, not as outstanding as, like, you know, let's say like God of War or like other, you know, large marks in the industry. I'm okay with it being lackluster if the game makes me feel like I want to play the game.
Yeah. I definitely feel that too. I understand that completely. The next little topic here is CD Projekt Red, and so CD Projekt Red actually has come out talking about a new Witcher saga that they are working on. So, but that said, they haven't announced Witcher 4. They're talking about a saga, so it could be like the Witcher Redemption, you know, whatever, right? The Witcher Vengeance, but typically what it looks like is that they're going to be working on maybe another trilogy of games or another complete storyline here within the Witcher universe. But what I thought was really interesting about this is that they're no longer using the Red engine, which is their proprietary engine that they've created and has been in use for all of their games, all of the Witcher games, including the Cyberpunk 2077. Slacko says the music is a tad bit high. Let me understand why that's still going on. Let me go try to fix that real quick. I'll get to that in a minute. My bad, bro. Let's get back. There we go.
I do think that Witcher 2 is not on the Red engine.
It's not. Which one
yeah,
was that created with?
That one is created with BioWare's Aurora engine.
Really?
Yes,
BioWare's
actually.
engine?
Yeah, BioWare's engine from Mass Effect.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
That's very interesting. I didn't know that. That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, that's where they got the basis for the Red engine.
So what do you think about them going with Unreal Engine 5 instead of going with Red Engine going forward?
I mean, I think it's a great move. I mean, it's still a C++ code base, so I think it'd be a lateral move for all the devs inside the facility.
Mm-hmm.
I think that moving to Unreal Engine 5 will be smart because Epic Games is a very, very large company. It's not a small one by any means, so they have definitely a lot of support in the event that they need it. Do I think that it's going to be hand in hand with Epic Games? No. I think that it's going to be more something along the lines of they're licensing it, and if they need something super specific, instead of like creating it in-house, they can just ask Epic Games like, hey, can you implement this? Like, could you, like, something that the Red engine, I think the newest one is 5 or 4, so whatever it is, the newest Red engine has a script hooked feature that allows you to run ASI menus undetected. So like it can get through anti-cheat, it can get through everything. That's something that they needed for Red engine, so they can monitor the game, make sure everything is running properly without making it so that it looks like cheating. Which we have had issues like that in at least in our studio at Ubisoft, was that there was a dev that was playing multiplayer and they like activated all like the cheats and everything like that, and they forgot that they were online. So like while they're doing development work, they're like live in a multiplayer, so people would run into this developer designer and they would try to kill him, and it's like, oh, they have god mode, they have unlimited ammo, their cars don't explode, and it's like things like that. Like, we need script hooked features so that, like, let's say we don't accidentally get banned by our own engine, or if we're using a proprietary third-party engine, like a anti-cheat engine, much like how Epic Games is using, that's undetected as well too. So that's something that maybe that CD Projekt Red could bring over from the Red engine into Unreal Engine 5, so that it's a symbiotic relationship and less of like CD Projekt Red is actually just leaning on Epic Games.
Hey, okay, so like this is your experience and everything. A question I now have. So do you think it would be a very seamless transition from Red Engine to, I mean, like, I don't know if you even used Red Engine before, but do you think it'll be a seamless transition for the developers there to using Unreal Engine 5 from Red, or would it take some time for them to get used to the new game development tools that are, there for Unreal Engine 5 and not necessarily something that they were using previously with Red?
I think that it would take a little bit of time to use things like Nanite and the new volumetric
Lumen,
Lumen systems and stuff like that, because it's not proprietary. Like, they don't automatically know all the tools, but because it's a C++ code base, if they don't necessarily have to use the blueprinting system, they don't necessarily have to use everything in Unreal Engine. They could start a project from scratch and just write in code manually for all of the things that they need. And because majority of the developers or programmers already know C++ or should already know C++, if they need something like, let's say, a material analyzer, instead of like trying to dig through a bunch of templates and software or menus to try to find it, they can just command console, and they can just coded in automatically. So I don't think it's going to take too long for them to get adjusted to Unreal Engine. But I do think that the tool suite that they have is not available in many other game engines, namely Red. So I think that might take a little bit of time to get used to.
Do you think this also could speed up the process of them getting the next Witcher game out a lot sooner than their current cadence of game releases? Because, you know, like Cyberpunk took a long time to be developed, and the Witcher games, I can't remember the timetable of release dates for, like, from say like 2 to 3, but could this potentially mean that, like, not necessarily right around the corner, but we could see the next Witcher game in another 3 or 4 years? Because, like, now you don't have to update your engine, you know, like, this is why Epic creates Unreal Engine the way they do. Like, it's designed to be licensed out, and for other developers to license it, use it, you know, for their methods, and for what they need it for, game development, of course, and not have to worry about creating an engine and also developing it at the same time. So do you think, like, this game could come out, say, like in 2025 or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely plausible. So let's say you're Epic Games and I'm CDPR, right? Let's say that there's a culling system that's like we're jam packing, like we're packing tons of detail into a small space, let's say an alleyway. And let's say your character moves at a certain speed, like 10 meters a second, and like the level of detail is not loading in as fast as we need. So we can actually put that alleyway on the back burner, contact you at Epic Games. Hey, Slow-Mo, Epic Games, could you guys work on a new culling Hello? Could you guys work on a new culling engine? Could you guys work on a new culling solution for us? And you guys will, you know, you could say something along the lines.
I'll be right on that, sir.
We could put all of our interns
what makes
on
you
it.
think I can do that? What makes you think I know how to do that, sir?
No, see, that's not the response, Forte. See, look, this.
I know.
Epic,
I know it's not the
like,
response.
we have actually been working on that, you know, all this time. We almost got it done, even though they haven't. But now that you brought it up, we're gonna definitely get on that and get that done. Because if you are talking about doing that, then there may be another developer out there later on that's going to want the same thing, and I think that's why Unreal is so popular, is because, like, it's a word I'm looking for, collaborative effort among all developers, because one developer uses it, they have a great time, they have a successful launch of a game running it, and they have added things to it, or given feedback to Epic of what could be made things more seamless for them, and then they do those things, and then it helps other developers going forward. So, you know, it's going to work that way for them, because that's how they designed it, you know?
Yeah, and because there's somebody like Epic Games that is working on, like, it's obviously their engine, but that's working on the engine, because we can put this function on the back burner, we can work on something else in the meantime, and then when you guys get back to us in 45 days, you guys can say, hey, the feature should be up and running, everything should be good to go, or, you know, here's some files that you guys need to be able to update your engine. And then they would be like, okay, cool, thanks, and then we can move directly back onto whatever section of the game that we're working on. Whereas in Red Engine, if something needs to be created, like, we either have somebody in-house or, like, we have to do it now. So there's a certain level of urgency to working on a proprietary engine, like I did when we were working on Watch Dogs Legion, is that when something's wrong, like, we got to go call the IT guy, we got to go make sure somebody is somewhere or somebody is available, I got to send out emails, I got to find out somebody that has specialized in this one little thing so that I can make sure that it's working, and then I have to wait on somebody. I can't put things on a back burner, I have to wait specifically for this thing. Whereas with Unreal Engine or with Epic Games, because they're such a large company, the turnaround time might be much shorter. So it might be 10 days before you guys get back to us with a solution. So it's like 10 days, I can go work on something else completely.
Yeah, you know, it makes a lot of sense to me. I think our last quick hit topic is Suicide Squad, and Suicide Squad has been delayed to spring 2023. So Sefton Hill, who is the creative director and co-founder of Rocksteady Games, it came out with a tweet yesterday, said we made a difficult decision to delay Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League to spring 2023. I know a delay is frustrating, but that time is going into making the best game we can. I look forward to bringing the chaos to Metropolis, the chaos to Metropolis together. Thanks for your patience. And I wasn't shocked by this at all. Like, I actually, maybe it's because
I'm still not shocked by it.
Yeah, because like I almost, when I saw this, I said it wasn't already delayed. I thought it was already delayed to 2023. So this was a shocker to me. Maybe I heard something that was going to get delayed, and it wasn't official at that point. What do you think, Forte?
No, I like when I first saw it, I was super, like a lot of people that saw it was like, oh yeah, this is actually really, really cool and really interesting. And the thing is, the consistent narrative for a lot of games is how many times is it going to get delayed before it actually comes out, and not due to just incompetency or anything like that, just due to the situation in the world. This game hadn't seen a delay yet since they announced it and everything. I mean, granted, they never put a date or anything on it until recently. And then they had to end up moving it because, hey, every game has had at least one delay accounted for when it came to its development cycle and stuff. So, like you always say, man, a delayed game is a better game. Even if the game ends up being bad at the end, I guarantee you it was better than it was with before they delayed it. I mean, it wasn't as good as it was before they delayed it. So I'm looking forward to the game. That's one of the games that I actually really, really wanted to release this year. But the fact that they delayed it means it's just going to be a better game when they finally do release it. And I think it's a good thing.
I just want to say real quick before Deli goes, check out Deadshot's hair. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about. See,
that's
like,
some hair. I know you was all into that hair.
Attention to detail. That's what I want to see going.
They watched your video, man.
Yeah,
They did.
I appreciate
They watched it
it
before he posted it.
Right. Deli, what do you think about Suicide Squad getting delayed?
I mean, I'm always happy for games to get delayed. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, I didn't unexpect it, or I didn't not expect it. To be honest with you, this game really isn't on my radar. I wasn't paying attention to it. So when it was announced that it was delayed, I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So you probably even this game does have co-op, right? No one answer all at once. Does anyone know?
No,
okay, because
I don't know.
Because I was thinking like this would be a cool game to play with friends. Just based off of what I saw with the actual gameplay.
That's what it was for me. Yeah, I do have a question for Deli though, being the resident.
Sure.
Got the resident dev up in the house. So when it comes to delays of games, when do you know as a developer when you're looking at a code and you're looking at a game and you got just that feeling in the studio that this ain't going too good and this probably needs to be delayed? What is that conversation like amongst other devs in the building? No, this is before officially it happens, but how long into the process of you actually making what you're making that you already came to the realization and most of the people in the studio have come to that realization?
Pretty quickly, actually. So it usually I want to say it usually happens about 90 days before the announcement happens. So about 3 months before the announcement happens, because, well, since we're working on the building blocks like constantly day in, day out, when something's not working for like a hot minute, we know. Like when somebody is trying to force something to work, we know. Like if John from the production team is like, hey Deli, can you make this work? And I'm like, how soon? They're like, next week. Something's wrong. Like we haven't even prototyped it. I haven't even gotten any sketches back from the concept artists. I haven't gotten any of the scans in from the motion capture team, I haven't had any of the real life photos or the what's it called? I don't have any of the actual photos from the team that's like out in London doing all of that stuff. Like I don't have anything done. And so when somebody says like, hey, we need this like kind of yesterday, that's usually the sign like, I'm gonna go check on other teams to see if they said the same thing. So I walk over to your cubicle and I would say, hey Mo,
Hey.
John from production just told me that they needed a feature like in pretty quickly. I was wondering if you heard anything about that on your team.
Nope, haven't heard anything over here.
Oh, okay. And then I'll just be like, all right, cool. I guess it's just me then. And then, you know, word spreads pretty quickly. I mean, to be honest with you, in a studio, like the chances of by the time you hear something, by the time it takes from you to walk from one side of the building to the other side, everybody behind you that you pass probably already knows.
It's just interesting.
That makes sense,
It's just interesting how like dang, 90 days. It's like, I guarantee you about half of that, probably a little bit more, is just crafting the perfect statement to come out and say how we're going to delay this game.
Or like if we can make it work in those 90 days, then we'll reassess the situation.
Right.
So like our build of Watch Dogs Legion, because we use an in-house engine called the Disrupt engine, and that engine is specifically tailored for cross-platform, cross-generation, and it's also specifically tailored for online play. So like the engine features aren't like graphically, it's like, you know, the Watch Dogs game, they look a certain way because that's how, you know, we need to tune down the graphical fidelity for the online connectivity, because the online for those games are pretty seamless. You can kind of drop in, drop out at any moment in time, and the game puts you directly back into single player mode without a loading screen. And like we spend a lot of time working that stuff into the engine, so when things aren't working, we're like, okay, well, you know, we'll just give it a little bit of time. So our E3 demo was not functional the week before, believe it or not.
What?
So yeah,
I love hearing stuff like this. I really do.
It's so funny actually. So yeah, it didn't work the week before, about 10 days before, and like people were about to get on a plane, like people were about to like fly to E3, and they're like, what are you guys talking about? It's not working. They're like, well, I mean, we just encountered a bug here and it's just not working. I was like, well, what do you guys want? Yeah, what do you guys want to do about this? They're like, well, we got to fix it. So, you know, people ended up staying up like 14, 15 hours a day just to fix it and make sure it's working. But little things like that, it's like, if we can fix it, if we can cut content, if we could cut corners, if we could do a patch, like some duct tape, some WD-40, if we could do that and it be serviceable, then we'll continue working at the rate we're working, and we'll find a answer or a solution down the line. But within 90 days, if we don't get it within probably at the 60-day mark, then yeah, it's time to start formulating a plan. It's time to start cutting content. It's time to start going back to the drawing board. It's time to make sure that, like, I could be working on a prototype for 3 months and it could get scrapped just because it's just too much.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that's a really
frustrating. Like,
yeah, that's a really good one.
Like, you know, all my time over a certain period of time has been focused on something that ends up not even getting into the game. Like, that would just really kind of piss me off. But
what is last quick? Cause I know you want to move on, but last question, because hearing him talk about this stuff is super interesting. Yeah. When it comes to, like you said, cut content, and I mean, I know it's probably some stuff that you can't even talk about that's been left on the floor, but if you can, is there anything in particular that you were like, that sucks that we had to really, I mean, everything sucks if you got to cut it, but was it that one thing that you was like, man, I really wish that could have made it into the game?
We had a female protagonist that rode around on a skateboard that had like a beanbag gun for our main character. It was super cool. It was awesome. Like, I thought it was fantastic. We also had like 5 minor storylines going, so we had like an optional of 5 endings to the game. All of that got scrapped like beginning of the year. Um, so we ended
Also
up,
early.
yeah, like super early in the beginning of the year. So yeah, that was probably around 2018. Yeah. So then we ended up making this NPC system where so like we only have a few voice actors in the game, even though there are tons of voices in the game. The way we did that is that we had this I'm explaining it to you guys as if when it was explained to me, because I'm not an audio engineer, so I don't quite know all the ins and outs. But the way it was explained to me is that they run it through filters that increase pitch, like it simulates like mouth width, mouth depth, the amount of teeth that you have in your mouth, so that a single voice actor could sound like 20 different people. And so running through those filters, it's like that sped up development a whole lot, because we didn't have to spend hundreds of hours to record and voice like hundreds of different people.
So you had like
NPCs.
6 people.
Yeah, we had 12 to 14 people in the audio booth at any given moment in time, and those simulated all of the voices in the game.
Do you guys ever like be like, oh man, we forgot to run lines for this character, and it just be like, hey Dave's like, you know, like a QA guy. He's just like, hey Dave, get in there and just say these lines real quick, and it's just like, okay, all right, and he just goes in, and now Dave's a voice actor. Does that ever happen?
I mean, that specific scenario, no, but I had a specific scenario where I thought it would be a hilarious game mechanic if your character just died. Like middle game, it just fell over and died of a heart attack. And we prototyped it and thought it was freaking hilarious. Like, it was an in-studio joke, and then it made the cutting room floor. Like, it's a feature in the game.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah, like it has a 1%. Your character, no matter what character you pick, like any NPC that you pick across the world, has a 0.01% chance of falling over and dying from a heart attack.
Have you ever seen any clips on like YouTube or something? So someone's playing the game, just like, I don't even know what happened, man. I was just about to do this mission, and then my guy just grabbed his chest and just like fell over and died.
Yeah, tons. Yeah, like, there's tons of clips. I think it's hilarious. To me, I think it's absolutely hilarious. Like, it's just something, like, it's a joke. It's just something dumb that we thought of in the studio.
Does the game actually explain to you what happened, or did it just happen?
Yeah, it's classified as a heart attack.
Oh.
Yeah, your character your NPC in the game that you chose has a heart attack, so you just fall over, and because in our game, when the character dies, like, you lose the NPC forever.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so like, you know, you have to go out and find it again, or you have to go out and find another character again, and those skill sets that we have in the NPCs are randomized. And there's a huge, I can go on about it forever, but there's a huge interactive system that we made from the ground up to graft the NPCs. So like, if Slow-Mo is from Brixton and you're in South London, like, the characteristics that somebody from Brixton would have in South London are very noticeable that they're not from South London. Like, their clothing choice, their hair, their style, the shoes that they wear, the way they walk, the way they talk. And it's like, we have region defining skills and qualities that we have grouped inside a region. So when NPCs are generated in that region, they're generated with those skills as a priority. Fun fact.
That's cool, man. I feel like I learn something every day this man is on the show.
This is why we bring Deli in here. He educate us, man, on game development. You know, look, but make us feel like we are there, like right there in the game development chair. You know, making these decisions.
Aronimus did ask a question. He said, "How often do you have sync meetings to give updates?" That's up to production leads and directors and managements and all that kind of stuff. But usually a Slack meeting or Microsoft Teams meeting happens once a week, every Friday, about 9 a.m. They usually last anywhere from 15 to 50 minutes, depending on who talks.
Oh, yeah, because some people can talk more than others.
Yeah, like we're right about to, hey, meeting adjourned, and somebody's like, yo, so this isn't working. Like, why would you say that, dude? And then it goes on for another 40 minutes,
Right. Well, yeah, I think it's about time we moved on to one of our premiere topics, our main topics here. Halo TV
premiere
show impressions. And I would be showing like the trailer, the Paramount Plus trailer, but I heard Paramount was copyright claiming channels to do that, so I'm just playing some random gameplay from some custom matches we had a while back in Halo Infinite. So that's what's playing right now. Anyway, let's get into this first episode. So the first episode of the Halo TV show on Paramount Plus premiered today, and there's been a lot of talk on like the Twitter timeline, social media in general, in regards to the show. There's a lot of very aggressive and emotional opinions here. I'll go last. Forte, I know you got a lot to say about this, man. What do you feel about the TV show after watching the first episode?
So, all right. So, first episode, I ain't gonna lie, I actually liked it.
Really?
I actually liked it. I know that's like the complete opposite of most people on the internet. But I actually liked it. You know why? Because I'm simple. I'm very simple when it comes to TV shows. It already hits at something that I already love, which is sci-fi. So I'm already in on it from just that alone. I don't care if it's got cheesy this, cheesy that, because I watch TV shows like Dark Matter and stuff like and Expanse and stuff like that, where it's not the greatest, but it serves up to the point where I love it.
Expanse is awesome. I don't know about.
Well, no, the Expanse is awesome. I don't know why I put the Expanse with something like Dark Matter, but no, the things that I truly so the first 20 minutes, amazing. I got those feelings of watching Halo. I got those feelings of just like when I picked up the controller and was watching it playing, like when the Pelican came in and he dropped down, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about. I love that they actually showed the brutality with the Covenant weapons and stuff and blowing limbs off. I was like, okay, we in there. We actually blowing limbs off and people is being literally pieces are flying off of them. It's cool. Mm-hmm. So I like the overall aesthetic of the armor. I think the practical effects in the show were really, really good when it comes to the armor, the weapons and stuff like that. I think the CGI could be better in certain instances. I liked it when it came to like showing off the plasma, the plasma attacks. I liked it when it showed like bullets bouncing off of the shields and stuff. I thought that was like a very, very nice touch, but there were certain things where the Covenant's motion and stuff, I thought that was a little bit off when they got really up and close to them. And there were certain scenarios where they had weapons sliding on grounds and stuff, and I was like, that was like a little janky for a practical effect that they tried to throw CGI in on top of it. So I think High Charity looked amazing. That was something I was super excited for. I think Prophet looks really, really good. Prophet of Mercy that they showed in it. So there was a lot of things that from a Halo standpoint and a geek out standpoint, I was like, oh, this is super cool. But then there was things about the show that I was like, I understand why people are kind of mad about it. And certain things that happen halfway through the show that that we haven't even seen in the video game yet, but it is what it is. They're really tying this show to be something that is taking place in a completely different timeline. They actually call it the Silver Timeline. I still don't agree that you shouldn't be making a TV show without any basic knowledge of what's happening in the game. And I don't know how completely true it is that they don't know anything about what's going on in the games. But the fact that you put that out there lets us know that you just literally said, well, we just going off of what the stories that 343 told us about the game, and we're not really taking any of the source material as when it comes to the games to heart. I do think they're following the books more than anything, because there is a lot of things that's happening in that first episode that are literally tied to what's going on with the books and everything. No, you're good. I think that is a very, very comforting thing. So it's not like they're completely deviating, but there are some things in the show that I'm like, Interesting decision. The only reason you can get away with that is because you're saying this is an alternate timeline. But I like just the essence of what the show was. I like the energy that it did bring, especially in the first 20 minutes. And then they had like a build up of expectations going through the rest of it. It's going to really fall on I think people that are really into the novels, not just the games, are going to really appreciate it more, because there's stuff in this show that never been portrayed in games that you probably don't even know about. And that's probably going to fall off for some people. But if you're a person that loves Halo and you love everything about it, lore and everything, this show is probably going to be something, or at least the first episode, I should say. The first episode is going to be something that you probably enjoy. But if you're a person that's just jumping in because, it's a brand, you hear something cool about this Paramount show that, Microsoft's putting on for Halo, about this game you keep hearing about, and you know nothing about it, it's going to be mid. Really mid for people like that, because I don't think it does anything different than any other show or any show before it has done. It just is living off the IP that it's basically named after. But I enjoyed the first episode, and I'm definitely looking forward to what they do next week.
Okay, all right. Before we get into Deli's thoughts, I just want to shout out to Gaming with Persona in the house. Mr. Persona, he was hanging out with us on Brap last night on that's Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. We were having a good time, having a really good discussion. Appreciate you, bro, with the $10.
What's up, Persona?
Chat. He said, shout out to Deli and the DPS crew. We appreciate you, sir. Hope you're having a great evening. Hope you're enjoying your games, and occasionally touching grass. We start messing around. Deli, what were your thoughts about the TV show, man?
Okay, I'm just gonna open up with the episode 1. Contact is a solid 3 out of 10 for me. I feel a
solid 3 out of 10.
A solid 3 out of 10.
Solid 3 out of 10.
I just want to put that up front.
That's why I give it a score, because I don't want to give it a score
ahead of time. But let's see. First 20 minutes. Let's see. I mean, the CGI is serviceable. As a person who spent a lot of time watching Doctor Who and Japanese TV shows like Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, or Super Sentai, that kind of stuff, like CGI, practical effects, don't care. I can, I can put that behind me. So CGI for me is serviceable. I do think it's weird that there are moments of CGI where, like, let's say there was a specific point where Chief lands on the ground, then he goes to take like 2 or 3 steps to run, and they CGI'd his run, and then midway through his step, they like phased it into a live action actor. So it's like, it looks really, really smooth and looks really, really powerful when it's in CGI. And he's like supposed to be like, because the characters in the show describe Spartans as demons, like they're super fast, they're super agile, they're not human, they're ridiculous. So the CGI makes the Spartans look ridiculous, cool, and like how they would look in a video game. And then the live action makes it look like they're, I don't know, they're walking around with something in their butt. You know what I mean? Like they look weird. They look weird.
Right.
Haircuts, ew. First off, I don't know why they even decided to do that. Like, it's a sci-fi world. You guys could literally come up with anything, and you guys came up with those haircuts. Like, that's gross, man. That's like genuinely gross. The FPS camera shots, while creative, I think that they're not my favorite. I think they just look like cheap YouTube shots. I don't think that they look creative enough to be put in there. I think they are put in there specifically to nod to the game. So they look something like out of a Corridor Digital video, which can be jarring for a TV show. For me, can be off-putting for a TV show that costs $15 million an episode or something like that, right? Silver Team is neat. Their entrances were really cool. I'm not gonna lie. When they first came in, it did give me a lot of hope for the show. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. I was like, hey, this is awesome. And then they fall into the loophole, or they fall into the hole that every TV show with an ensemble cast or a team cast on screen falls into. The team slowly falls apart. Like, you're telling me that the Silver Team is supposed to be working together for an X amount of time, so obviously they know each other. So they come in and it's showcased that they're working well together, and then within 5 minutes, people are falling, people need covering fire, other people are out of ammo, somebody else, these are the same team members that are taking on 2 or 3 elites by themselves a piece. So it is kind of weird for me to see them doing so well initially and then not doing well. All of the running in the suits, like all of the live action running, looks terrible. It is what it is. But I mean, if you can get past that, it's fine. I think the main character's motives are really shaky. She gets rescued, and then directly after she gets rescued, she is, puffing her chest out. She's like, I'm in charge, I'm in control, I'm the badass. And it's like, I don't know. To me, there was a disconnect narratively with her motives, especially since the big intro scene happened. It's like I feel like she's not in the position to be saying the things that she's saying or doing the things that she was doing. And then my other biggest problem is that everybody in the UNSC speaks exclusively in questions, which really pissed me off because I am so confused. Everybody, nobody knows what's going on.
I just asked the question.
Nobody knows what's going on for some reason. Chief doesn't know the Covenant. Oh, what did I touch here? I think I'm picking something up. Can you guys see this? It's like, why is everybody talking in questions? It's like Nobody actually knows anything more than 1 or 2 sentences worth of information. So to me, that these guys are supposed to have advanced HUD displays. These guys are supposed to have radios, comms. The UNSC has the ability to keys in the show is the ability to project herself, and there's a lot of cool tech, and nobody seems to know what's going on anywhere, anyhow. Chief in the intro scene, he gives a sit rep. He said, there's X amount of people have died, X amount of people have lived, this person, that, this is where I'm at, these are the coordinates. And then within the next 10 or 20 minutes, he doesn't know where he's at. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's like, well, I'll just do this by myself. And it's like, you have all of this information that you just had 10 minutes ago. And then now you don't have anything. So it just feels weird. But Chief is fine. I mean, he's stoic, one note, nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, look, let me. I made a very grenade throwing kind of tweet before we went live.
It
was mostly tongue in cheek. I'm messing around with people. I just noticed let me not say that. Let me just say that I just felt like messing around with people. Everyone can have an opinion on the TV show. I just respect everyone else's opinions and why they may not have liked it, and we're all good, right? Now I'll start with the positives. The positives, I think I see that $10 million per episode being put into use. The parts where you see space and you see starships approaching planets and stuff like that, all that stuff looks like something movie level quality, and I'm just like, all right, okay, this looks good. I think the Spartan's armor looks great. I love the actual Spartan armors. They look good. I think I really like how they capture the indie colonists' disdain for the UNSC, their feelings and emotions about the Spartans, not really knowing what's true and what's just propaganda. That's a lot of stuff that you could gather from many of the books, and I don't know if that's something that the showrunners actually read, because clearly, they seem to not have wanted to do a lot of research. But regardless of that, I enjoyed those things. I thought that the stronger part of the episode was the first half, where you're on, I forgot the name of the planet, it begins with an M, and seeing this mining
Madrigal.
Yeah, Madrigal.
Yeah, Madrigal.
And the
that was magical.
Stop it.
That's what they said.
But I thought that was the stronger part of the episode. But okay, that's kind of where the positives end for me. Let's well, oh no, I'm sorry, I missed one positive. Shout out to our homie Kay Asante for being an act. Who knew this man was an actor? This man is portraying Keys in the TV show. Did you see him? Did you see?
Yeah,
his performance actually high key carrying the show.
Yeah, carrying the show. We need to see more Kay in that, because like I had no idea this man had those kind of acting chops. You know, like shout out to him. Shout out to him. Now let's get into. So I'm gonna get this first part out the way because it's not even the most important negative I have here. Chief taking his helmet off, right? Now look, I will say this. I don't think a TV adaptation should be doing things that the game hadn't really done yet. We see Chief's full face one day in the video game, sure. We've seen his eyes, you know. We've seen like his visor level look of his face from like the Halo 4 legendary ending. We know he's taken his helmet off multiple times. It's not like this guy just like basically has never taken his helmet off since he put it on. But that said, like the way they just went full on in very first episode, let's just take his helmet off and have his helmet over the most, like, I think a reason that wasn't even really necessary to take it off. Like
it wasn't. There was no reason.
There was no reason for him to do it. He just felt like, you know, just take my helmet off, be all dramatic for no reason.
There was no reason for the main character to have an accent as well too. Bro, that shit really pissed me off. Like it really took me out of the show. Like so if you guys hadn't seen, the main character is like this Korean woman.
Yeah.
And she somehow in this space colony they decided to give her like a semi-Asian accent to like somehow prove that she's Asian or something like that. And it really bothers me because it just feels out of place in a sci-fi show. Like you have aliens running around and you made this person speak in an accent. And there are several UNSC there's another UNSC character that speaks in an accent as well too. And it's just like I don't know, to me it just is a little off-putting. Like
yeah, they also went back and forth a couple times with like that main character, her father, speaking in Korean, you know, then switching back and forth to English, and I was just like, okay, all right, cool. You know, I don't really have a problem with that, but it's just I wonder, like I would like to hear from the director like why that seemed to be important. Like it seemed like they just wanted to kind of like
it's just tokenism, bro.
Yeah.
Come on now. There's no importance of it. As an Asian person, I was offended.
Yeah.
But okay. So look.
Sorry, keep going.
Go ahead, bro.
The Spartans look good when they're barely moving. When they start moving, now look, some of the action sequences worked, like the part where Chief took on two Sangeli, who, by the way, are way too bulky looking. The Sangeli aren't supposed to look like. I
definitely didn't like that. I will say that.
Like they look like they're a mix of the Sangeli and the Jarahana, and it's just like, why are they on steroids? Why are they so big? Like they're supposed to be imposing and like in terms of length taller than humans. But like this, they're way too thick. Pause. Then
one of them hit a truck with his shoulder.
Yeah, it's just like that's not all right. I mean,
I never seen that in the game.
You know, it's just like what like and that, you know, it made me think as I was watching that, you know, maybe the showrunners would have known what a Sangeli really looked like if they had actually played the game. But no, there's the Spartans look great until they're moving, and there were two scenes I thought that were actually pretty good with Chief, but otherwise it's like I see them running and like jumping and moving, and I'm gonna tell you what it reminded me of, and it's not a good reminder. It reminded me of the Power Rangers, man. It reminded me of them fights with the Power Rangers when they get into their Zords, and like. The
only thing you were missing was Megazord.
And it's just like almost like, you know, you would see like certain parts of the armor just doesn't move like a solid metal or like ceramic polyformer, whatever you want to call it, piece of metal should move. It's just like it doesn't look quite right. The movement didn't look good to me, and that was a little bit distracting. Although I did really enjoy the firefight, and I appreciate the fact that Zangeli was just like, yeah, whatever, man. We don't care your kids hiding in this hole. We're gonna shoot them all anyway.
Yeah, I ain't expect them to do that, but they did it. I was like, okay.
I expect that they don't care.
Well, I know they did, but I also didn't expect once they started blowing limbs off and showing it, I was like, oh, okay. Everything's up for grabs right now, which is the way it should be with the Covenant.
Yeah. But it's later on. I can't stand Dr. Hazley. I can't stand her. Anytime I see her, I just get like.
You just don't like her in general, or you don't like her performance?
Like her. Well, no, the actress was fine. I don't like her in general because she.
Okay.
She kidnapped kids, so it's just it's just like to me.
It's a game in a book, slow mo. I understand what you're saying.
Are you trying to excuse the kidnapping of kids?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. But it's a video.
That's crazy.
Game.
That's crazy, Forte. I'm gonna jot this one down. That's crazy, bro.
Now, like just seeing her kind of annoyed me. Although that's not really nothing against the game because, like, she has
I love her as an actress doing it.
She's an integral part of the Halo story, period. So of course we would see her, but it's got me kind of wondering. I was just very much bored with the latter half of the episode, and again, I thought that him taking the helmet off was completely unnecessary. It's got me wondering. We didn't see really any AI, any UNSC AI at all in the episode, of course, and that means, of course, no Cortana. So I'm wondering, how is Cortana going to be introduced? And
well, they did mention her in this episode. They just they were talking about as a failsafe, but that's when the I forget the commanding officer. She was like, the Cortana initiative doesn't exist. Because she actually brought it up as a failsafe to actually bring Chief in, but I think they're going to talk about that in the next episode.
Mitchie dies a lot. Shout out to Mitchie. Says, you realize it's 50 pounds of plastic that they use, that metal that they use for the armor. Mitchie, you do realize that it still looked flimsy, is what I'm saying, man. Persona says that the music is drowning us out. Let me try to get it. Oh, you see, that's as low as I can get it. Okay, there we go. Maybe that's like that's yeah. If I take it any lower, there's no music at all. And if I have to go with no music at all, that's fine. Hopefully, you guys can hear us and that we're not. The music isn't drowning us out. But sorry about that. Where was I at? I think that's really about it. I mean, I'm going to continue to watch it. I'm not all that impressed so far, but it does have the opportunity to improve. Like there's always, those kind of shows where like the first episode or two isn't that great, and then there's like the episode, an episode that's just so epic and so good that like it completely
like WandaVision.
I thought WandaVision was great from the beginning to end, but
man, those first few episodes were slow as heck.
Man, it was a slog, bro.
It sure was, bro.
We can use one.
Those first few episodes was like, yo, what the heck is this whole 90s thing going on? And then it all made sense by episode 4. 90s. Oh, not 90s, yeah, the whole 50s.
It was like the 60s, yeah, the 50s, 60s.
Yeah, what's this whole 50 and 60 thing, and then they finally pulled the veil off.
That's how it was for you, that's fine. But like at some point, like sometimes there is a TV series where like in the beginning it's not that great, but then there's an episode that really like catches on and it's so good.
Like Dune.
Okay, you gonna stop naming stuff that doesn't need to be named.
Like Dune.
Dune is an amazing. It's probably gonna win film of the year. So like, I don't want to hear like. Dune,
man, that movie had people falling asleep for the first 2 hours. The last 30 minutes was amazing.
All right, I'm about to mute you because you out here saying blasphemy.
It's the truth. Right, no, I fell asleep on that movie 3 times, dog, and then they finally got good at the end.
Fall asleep at the drop of a hat, sir. So I am not surprised.
I ain't fall asleep watching Halo.
Well, I almost did. Anyway, but that's our thoughts on Halo. It's not the best. It's disappointing to some people, and for as far as Deli is concerned, it's a 3 out of 10.
I just look, man, I'm gonna give it some hope. I'm gonna continue watching. I really do, but it just feels like, I'm gonna disregard the games, the books, whatever. I'm gonna take this show as at face value for its own thing. But so far, it is not winning me over. Like, if I was just some new person who knew nothing of Halo, I would be kind of confused narratively about what's going on.
Right, and that's the weird thing about like when they said that they didn't look at the game at all, and I'm like, wait, what? Why are you even like doing this if you're not even going to look at the source material? But then they said Silver Universe. It's okay. I'm like, all right, so they're doing like a multiverse thing, so they don't really have to follow the storyline. It's not my preferred method of doing an adaptation, but cool. You were actually going to, this frees you up to have a little bit more creative freedom here and there, right?
I mean, they're doing their own thing. That's cool.
Yeah, but it's just, even in that, it's just this isn't what I found to be all that entertaining. But,
so let me ask you guys, what did you want? Both of you, what did you want?
What I would have wanted is not a Silver Universe thing, something that was within the universe, but you have so much lore to draw off of, and if you were going to try to introduce a story to people who don't know Halo like that, you could have just took a story within the same universe and actually have built upon that. You could have still started with the indie colonists and their war against the UNSC as a pretense for starting the Spartan program, which is exactly what Hazley did, and could have made that be the first episode. So instead of like really having Chief already there, you could be showing people how Chief came to be, like how he ended up on Reach with the other children to be trained to be the best soldiers that the UNSC would ever create. Like, you could have did that. Like, and yeah, for us Halo fans, that would have been kind of like retreading over like stuff that we already know. But like, again, they're not doing this for us anyway. They're doing this for people who aren't Halo fans because they want to create a whole new audience. And if that's the case, then why don't you just start from the very start with a already good story and just kind of change things here and there that don't really fit for a TV adaptation from a video game or a book, and you would have been all set. I thought that would have been a better idea than what they ended up going with.
What about you, Deli?
I would have preferred if they did 2 episodes apiece of backstory of Noble Team. I mean, that's just some retreading old ground, but one, it's already there, it's written for you, you can expand upon it, you can take creative liberties and expand upon it however much you want because it's like a prequel. 2, it's already in a universe that we know. 3, it's already usually one of the more highly regarded stories in Halo with characters that we already know and love. So it's like you're giving new people what they want, which is characters that they can relate to, characters that they can see grow, and a narrative that like is not haphazard. And then you can give fans what they want by giving characters that we already know and love on screen, because at the end of the day, I just want to see Halo on screen. I don't care if it's old ground. I just want to see Halo on screen. Right. So give me something that I want to see, and it just wasn't this.
No, I get it. And like I said, I just saw people online, and I guess, like I said, for me, they already had me at sci-fi and everything else. And the thing is, I already go into these shows knowing that, okay, I kind of do, they didn't even pay attention to the game. So I know there's going to be some disconnection and stuff there. So it's like, I caveated a lot of that stuff going into it. But I just the way I look at it, if a show gives you a feeling, or if at any point you have like that feeling of, yo, this is pretty cool, this is like this. I'm not saying it's going to be like I said throughout the whole show and stuff like that. I just, like I said, the first 20 minutes I was like, yo, I felt like this is cool, this is really, really good, and this is what Halo's supposed to be. But then when you start, you know, digging into like the minutia of it and stuff, you're like, okay, this could have been done better, this could have been done better, why did they make this decision? You know, am I saying that this is going to be like, for most people, if you love something a lot, you're going to go back and look at it like 4 or 5 times. Like I watched the last 20 minutes of Endgame probably 50 or 60 times in the first month that it was out on DVD, just because I love that sequence so much. I probably won't go watch this again because, like I said, it wasn't something that was super amazing and something like that, but it did what it was supposed to do for me, which was entertain me to the point where I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm definitely looking forward to see what they do in the next episode. Hopefully they fix some of this other stuff and do better. I do think that $10 million per episode should definitely garner a little bit more
Story.
A little bit more when it comes to, yeah, definitely.
Look, this is an hour-long episode, and let's boil down what happened in this episode. There's a mining facility where you know, people were living. They just so happened there were, you know, the Covenant there trying to find a Forerunner artifact. They got exposed. They all died. Spartan showed up, ended the fight. Everyone's dead except one girl. They take her back to the UNSC. Then she doesn't want to work with them. She takes his helmet off. Hey, trust me. Right. Then they leave. That's about it, man. That's in an hour. That's, you know, the only other thing I didn't mention here is Miranda Keyes is in it, and she's, you know, emotional.
She's cute. I ain't gonna lie. When she was on screen, I was like, "Hey, yo."
She's emotional, and they made some. She's very emotional, and they made some character choices that some people may not like, which I didn't mind.
What
honestly.
about changing the race of those characters?
Yeah, it kind of shocked me. Like when I first saw it, I was like, "That's Miranda Keyes." When she said, "I'm Keyes," I'm like, "Okay, that's Miranda Keyes." And I'm like, "Huh." She looked a little mixed. And then they got to Jacob Keyes, and I was like, oh.
K-Asante.
And then they told, it's K-Asante. I said K-Asante. And then they went a little deeper, and it was like, oh, that's your mom. Oh, K-Asante, you know, he dipped in some white chocolate. Okay.
He likes his war criminals. Go ahead.
Yeah, he likes his war criminals. So I think that's where the divergence in this show is going to happen when it comes to, like, I think it's still going to be a lot of similarities across the two timelines. I just think how we're going to get to a certain point is going to be different than what it was in the prime timeline, I should say.
Oh,
but
it's definitely going to be different. Clearly,
it's going to be different. I mean, it's already different.
I was fine with Miranda being black. I do not care.
I don't care.
Nothing about that character, cool. Those characters that was race centric anyway. Like there's nothing like culturally, ethnically that stood out about that character.
Well, you know what people are going to say. It's like when you first see, like I said, it didn't bother me, but it's like I did do a double take at first. Like, wait a minute. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, it really doesn't matter. Her arc for her character really didn't have that much of a meaning. And then Captain Keyes only made it through the first game. So it really didn't matter there either. So I do agree. It doesn't make a big deal, but I can't see people looking at it like, oh, wait a minute, hold up.
Why is very prominent in the books though? Because he through
a lot of the books.
He helps even Hazley pick out the children. You know, so
yeah, I think the biggest thing that a lot of people are going to be, I think the one thing that I'm not really interested, I'm not going to say interested, but I'm not really worried about the arc of what Master Chief is, because I kind of think they have a really good plan for that. Hopefully they do, but I'm taking it on oath that they do. But I really want to know where this whole human on the high console of the Covenant is going to play itself out. Now this is what I'm sitting there like, what in the world, and how did this happen?
Yeah.
How did this happen? Like,
it wasn't my favorite creative liberty.
No, that definitely wasn't my favorite. I was like, literally, your mortal enemy.
I almost forgot about that. Yeah.
I was like, literally, the mortal enemy of your species is on your high console.
It kind of even upsets the entire point of like why they're so hard, have such a hard on against the humans in the first place. It's
maybe.
It's
maybe.
All right, we can move on.
Now that I said that, Slow-Mo was like, oh yeah, I dislike this even more.
I'm gonna call it now. It is Dr. Halsey's daughter.
Oh, I just realized what he just said.
I don't know. What did you say? What did you say?
I said, I feel deep down in my soul it's going to be like Dr. Halsey's daughter or something like that, or a clone of her genetic,
oh, you mean the
quality
the
or
human,
something like the high profit.
Well,
whatever.
you do realize that they're setting that up, having her go up to the machine and everything and touching and doing all that stuff and talking about cloning and stuff like that. That's going to come into play at some point, and I would not be surprised in 3 months we come back and Deli comes back on the show like I told you.
Right. All right, look,
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
So Sony Interactive Entertainment has acquired a new studio, and that is Haven Studios. And Haven Studios is being led by Jade Raymond. Jade Raymond, who is more well known for her work with on Assassin's Creed. I think she was one of the lead directors or producers for this was Assassin's Creed 2, right? I'm not too big on the Assassin's Creed franchise, so for me that might be a little out of my wheelhouse. Which Assassin's Creed did she do? Was it 2?
I think she did. She helped create Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and then she jump started the original Watch Dogs.
Okay. Oh, okay. Cool. So she used to work with Ubisoft, of course, and then she went to EA. Didn't actually launch a game with EA. There was everything that she worked on always ended up getting canceled or for various reasons or one another.
Yeah, she was a general manager on Battlefront 2, but I'm not entirely sure what that even means.
Okay. Then she went to she left EA to head up Stadia's first party studios, which unfortunately turned out to not do anything at all because Google really wasn't serious about this whole gaming industry thing in the first place, and so they shut all of them down. And then that's when she decided to just start her own studio, Haven Studios, and their first project is a PlayStation exclusive, said to be a multiplayer game. We don't know exactly what kind of multiplayer game. I've heard everything from an MMO to a battle royale to whatever, right? Who knows what it is? But whatever it is, it must be extremely impressive to the Sony leadership because they've acquired the studio, which I think probably might turn out to be a pretty good thing. I wanted to just say a quick few quotes from the blog from Herman Holst real quick, and then we can get into discussing how we feel about this. Herman said that we began working with Jade and her team in early 2021 when they were on the brink of announcing the formation of Haven Studios. From their first pitch, we were inspired by Haven's vision for creating a modern multiplayer experience that brings gamers together in positive and meaningful ways. We were confident in their creative and technical expertise to deliver on such an ambitious project, and we're thrilled to invest in their journey developing a new original IP for PlayStation. So yeah, Deli, what do you think about this, man?
Well, I just want to say that it's probably most likely what's it called? that they went to PlayStation was like, I want to build Game of the Year, or I want to build a live service game, or I want to build, like, they definitely tuned into the interests of whatever Sony was doing at the time. I think Montreal is a great spot because not only is it her backyard, but it is also the backyard of a studio that she headed in 2004, and she has definitely a lot of connections and friends and cohorts that are around the area. So yeah, I think it's a great spot. Plus, you know, they're in Canada, so they should be right nearby Deviation Games. I don't know how close, but they're close to them, closer than somebody like, you know, Santa Monica. So yeah, I think it's cool. I think that there's definitely a lot of talent that is there that has existed with each other for a while. So there's definitely an amount of synergy that Sony is buying with that kind of money. I think that when you have a talent pool that is worked together before and is veterans in the industry, I think that that kind of talent is valuable because not only is it the core strengths of, you know, X and Y IPs that they've worked on over the course of the last decade or 2 decades now, but it's also like the core values of the original teams that started these like wonderful franchises. And that's something that you can't really replicate. And we could take that with 343 as an example, as a prime example, where 343 has, and the coalition, like they have members of like the original team, but they don't have the founding knowledge, they don't have the founding mission statement, they don't have the core talent, they don't have, what's it called? They don't have that vision, that overarching vision that happens when you have a team of talent that has worked together for years and years and years. So yeah, I think it's a brilliant move, to be honest with you, and I think it's in a spot that Sony doesn't have a lot of pull in until now. Agreed.
Forte, what do you think, man?
No, I think she's been around the block when it comes to a lot of different studio stuff, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people were kind of just talking about over the course of the last couple of days. Really hasn't had anything of note come out, just due to the fact that she was with not Amazon, Google, and then that whole thing kind of fell through, and then she found herself creating Haven Studios, and she's been with Sony ever since then. I think Sony saw something from the very beginning when it came to just funding the development of the game from the beginning. And it looks like they made a lot of really good headway, and they decided to say that we wanted to back this even further by making that a part of the first party. I'm always happy to see developers like this because right now it's acquisition season. If anybody can get the bag and get themselves secured to a point where they don't have to worry about financial gains or anything like that, and all they got to do is make games, that's always a positive. There's always negatives because you have quarters and stuff. You don't really, answer to yourself for anything no more. You got to answer to the higher ups above you. But I think that is the direction that she wanted to go in with the company and everything, because it looks like they're trying to make something special over there. And Sony definitely saw they basically saw exactly what that was ahead of time to actually see what they want to do. And it kind of just reminds me of the same thing with like Bungie and stuff. They got a chance to see behind the curtain when it comes to a lot of stuff that they were creating, on top of the fact that they're going to be able to help them with their games as a live service. So just imagine, what's going on with Haven and the type of game that they're making, being able to get expertise from somebody like Bungie when it comes to like some type of games of a service or some type of live service thing that they're trying to do. I think that's basically part of the reason why they wanted to make this acquisition too, because it's heading in a direction that Sony wants to go with their games. Not all of their games, but they don't want to be left out of this service-based system when it comes to the games that they create and everything, because they know that that's revenue on top of revenue year over year, time after time. So Jay Raymond just happens to be in a great place when it comes to being able to make something like that. And I think that her expertise over the course of the last few decades have definitely wanted her to get the chance to actually do something like that. But it's gonna be a while until we see what this game is. It ain't gonna be probably 2024 until we see anything of note, like
or even a trailer,
footage or anything.
Yeah, right. Like anything at all. Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. I like I said, I think this is a good move for them. They clearly are making headway into investing in multiplayer experiences, and it's something that, like, despite how great of a last generation they had when it came to their first party experiences, the games that they provided, there was very little in the means of multiplayer experiences for people who care for those.
Right.
Now, look, they relied on third parties for that, but as you see now in acquisition season, you can't rely on third party for anything, because you never know if that third party that's been
Gonna be around.
will be still even making games on your platform or not. Like, no. Fortunately for them, they'll still get Call of Duty in the future. But if I was Jim Ryan or Sony leadership, I don't want to even ever rely on the fact that my competition continuing to do that based upon what the government may be forcing them to do in order to get this deal done is the only way I'm getting like the level of multiplayer games that I was enjoying before. Instead, how about I create my own multiplayer experiences that can rival what we were getting from third parties, or used to be third parties, now the competition's party. That's another thing now. Like, the biggest selling game on my platform is now my competition's game. Like, I don't want that. I want it to be my games, forget their games. And so I think this is what you do. You start investing in that. And I think something that Chris Singleton in the chat said that I absolutely agree with is that they are getting studios, specifically for certain roles, they're getting studios to make live service games instead of trying to force their already established current studios who have a culture, who have a workflow and a game design that works for them and is successful, to start making experiences that they are not quite familiar with. And that can lead to mixed results. That can lead to some disappointments, especially if like they don't bring in enough people who have enough experience in making those kind of games. Instead, try to transition people who are used to making different things, try to do something that's out of their wheelhouse. Like, I don't want to see Insomniac make a battle royale. I don't want to see that. I want Insomniac to keep doing what Insomniac.
Are you sure about that? I don't know, man. A Marvel battle royale would be pretty good.
You know, it would be pretty good.
I
don't know if Insomniac is the one to do it. You know,
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Oh, I misspoke earlier. Deviation Games, I don't know if they have a Canadian studio, but they're located in LA. I was thinking of another studio, but my bad, y'all.
Okay. Maybe is it Firewalk?
I think so. There is a Canadian-based studio.
Yeah, because they Firewalk is also making an exclusive game for PlayStation as well. Yeah, so yeah, I guess. Chris Nicholson says Playground Games is making Fable, but like that's actually a method of making a different kind of game that I'm cool with, because Playground actually created a whole second studio to make Fable. So the people who make Horizon, Forza Horizon. Forza Horizon aren't the same people that's making Fable. They actually made a whole different studio for that. Same way Respawn made a whole separate studio for the Star Wars game. So it's not the same people that's making Titanfall, Apex Legends. You actually hired people who already have experience in successfully launching games of that format to help teach your other people who will be, transitioning over to make sure the culture is still the same, but actually lead in making really successful games. So yeah, that's the way it works. And Persona says Deviation is opening a studio in Canada. So there we go. That kind of answers that question. Thank you, Persona. Yeah. So like, look, it's I actually kind of feel like Sony will probably continue to acquire studios throughout the year. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they acquire just as many studios this year as they did last year. As I said, it's acquisition season, and if you don't acquire those studios, someone else will. If you see talent, you see someone that's extremely talented, and you don't want to lose that talent and not have the games they make potentially not be on your platform, you're going to do what you got to do to bring them in. I guess one more question I would have before we move on to the whole Game Pass topic. Which studio, if you believe they're going to acquire another studio this year, which studio do you guys think they will be acquiring? Deli, you can go first.
I have no idea. I'm going to be honest with you.
I feel like you're
not a single clue.
Yeah, I don't feel like you're not.
Not a single clue.
We can let that go for now. Forte. What do you think, man?
What's the name of the studio that just did Sifu? Because I think that would be Slow Clap. I think that would be. I think that is. For that to be a game that they just created, I think that would be, especially since they have a partnership already. I think that would probably be a really, really good move for them to actually go into that direction.
Okay.
Just go ahead and lock that up. I think people are already getting to the point where we see it with From Software with their games and stuff. People are really, really digging this whole Souls genre and stuff right now. I think that's just going to get bigger and bigger over the course of not just this generation, but going to the generations in the future. Why not lock up one of the best games that came out this year when it comes to that, when it comes to those type of games, and get people excited for something that you can build inside of your own first party studios and not have to worry about, like you said, depending on what FromSoft is going to do with their games, putting it on multiple platforms, unless you're going to go get FromSoft. Now, if you're going to get FromSoft, that's completely different. But if you ain't doing that, Slow Clap, I think would be a good one.
Getting FromSoft would not be a very straightforward endeavor.
It sure wouldn't be.
It's already owned by a different company.
It's owned by, so you have to do some other stuff to get them.
Right. So you would have to I think Sony already has like a minority stake in that company anyway. But you would have to make some kind of.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah.
Make some. It wouldn't be an easy thing to do. I will go out of left field here. Okay. This is completely out of left field.
I will entertain that, and I will do one with you.
Devolver Digital.
What?
What?
You
already had a suggestion. You can't be throwing more in
Devolver Digital. They're going to buy a publisher. Devolver Digital.
I didn't know. I wasn't going to go with a publisher.
That would make their marketing go through the roof.
Because that would be great.
Devolver Digital know how to market.
Man, look, if have Devolver Digital start doing E3 shows for them, that would be freaking amazing.
It'd be freaking amazing.
Off the hook. All right, so look, no, it's not Devolver Digital. This is, you guys would never guess what I'm about to say here. Aspire.
No.
They have they have very little presence in Western RPGs right now, with the way that the market has gone and what Xbox has acquired. And they did money hat the KOTOR remake as a timed exclusive for PlayStation, and not going to be on Xbox for like a year or two or something like that. Why not go even further? And Aspire isn't just making KOTOR remake. They have done mobile games before, so they and prior to doing KOTOR remake, they did all of the versions of Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 that have shown up on iOS and Android. So they have familiarity with mobile games, which can help them get further entrenched in a different market, in the mobile market, where they can start transitioning some of your well-known IP in the console market to have a relatable experience in mobile. You know, so I think it would kind of like benefit them in multiple ways, in addition to providing them a high-profile game, Star Wars game, and a well-known classic that a lot of people love. on your platform exclusively forever.
Mm.
So that's
Good
my
point.
idea. That's my idea. Deli, you said you were going to have one that was.
Yeah, I want to throw one out of left field. I was originally going to say, just buy WB, but Remedy Entertainment. I know that they haven't had the best track record with Crossfire X, but I think that I visited their studio not too long ago, like a little while ago, and I spoke with a bunch of devs and stuff, and it was very cool, and they're very awesome, and I think that they're, what's it called? Not market leader, but they're definitely a company that has a lot of ability, has a lot of talent, has a lot of leeway when it comes to making the things they want and making the things that they want work in the way that others don't. Like, let's say like CDPR, let's say like, Rockstar Games, and a couple other studios. So yeah, I think as well that they're also such a large, like, they're surprisingly a very large studio. They have their own in-house mocap studio and everything like that. So I think that it would be a very, very good move for Sony to acquire Remedy Entertainment, solely for the fact that they have pull on both console market and PC. They also have the talent, and they also have the know-how to create multiple IPs and multiple genres without like horrendously screwing them up. So they do, like, most of the time they do third person over the shoulder action adventure games, which is like something that is right directly up Sony's alley. But they have FPS, they have solid action games. They have great shooting mechanics. A lot of the people that work at Remedy have worked across the industry in many other places as well too. So, and most of the people who work at Remedy have worked at Remedy for like at least a decade. So again, that's just talent right there that is indispensable.
I agree. Remedy would be a good gift for them. Although I do kind of wonder. I feel like Remedy is too invested in other games. Like I don't know if like they would want to acquire Remedy, knowing that Remedy has contracts with like Epic for games, with Tencent, stuff like that, right? So like they got like four. I think it was spoken of that they got like 4 games that we're currently working on, maybe 5 or something like that. Like, so they're working on a lot of different games that are already spoken for other publishers, and how long would it take them to start making something exclusive just for PlayStation and PC? So like I don't know, maybe if that would be like they would kind of like put a pause on that for a few years until some of that stuff gets out of the way. What do you think?
I mean, again, they have the resources. They have over 300 employees in studio, and also they work with Sony quite often because their support studios are Sony's XDev studios. So it's not like they don't have an already existing relationship with Sony. With the stuff with Tencent and their IPs that they're currently creating with them, I mean, with acquisitions and stuff going in, I mean, and contracts being already laid out and stuff like that, I don't see that it would be any different than the Microsoft one, where they wait for the deal to go through, the contracts to expire, this and that, the funding to go through, the games to be launched out, and then that's when they can allocate resources to like a newer project. But it's not like they aren't centered close by to Guerrilla Games located in Amsterdam. So they definitely have a lot of talent surrounding them on the Sony side in order to help them create something new with the 5 projects they're already currently creating. So if they can handle 5 projects by themselves with 300 employees, and with little crunch, I think that speaks very highly of the studio and the staff.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, I think we'll move on to our last topic of the night, which is Game Pass at the Game Developers Conference. And so, GDC has been this week, and it's been this week, right? Yeah, at this it's been this week, and something that was kind of brought out today was I'm tired. I can't remember if it was today or not. Maybe it may have been yesterday. Whatever. But regardless,
This week, let's say this week, yeah.
it was sometime this week. There we go. So what kind of came out of this was some statistics, some data in regards to how Game Pass is going and what Game Pass is doing for developers and publishers. So that's what the Game Developers Conference is about. It's for game developers. And so like you see seminars and things where they're discussing how to do things, how to develop certain game design or features in your game. And then you see stuff like Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond sitting down as if like they were just having brunch or something, just casually talking about the service that is the foundation of their platform and how it's helping developers and publishers. So real quick, what I want to do is just talk about some of those things that were brought up here. And so what they're saying is that subscribers play 40% more games after joining Game Pass. They're saying that games. Forte, what are you doing?
You said what?
I'm hearing a lot of background noise from you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, thanks, man. Games on average see 8.3 times the lift in players. I don't know. Was lift concurrent players? Is that what that means? I don't know. Day one launches see 3.5 times lift in players for large publishers, and for indies 15 times. And subscribers spend 50% more within Game Pass, and indies see triple-digit revenue growth. So what do we think about this? Deli, I know you had some thoughts about Game Pass in the past, about its viability and whether it was good for developers or not. Does this data change anything for you in regards to your thoughts about Game Pass?
Not really. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. This slideshow, this PowerPoint stuff is just, it's so funny because these graphs don't feel like they're made by anybody who actually cares about numbers. These graphs are for essentially advertising, because if they're at GDC, they're advertising in indies. They're advertising to people who are starting studios, who are just formed studios or are networking. So this stuff isn't really to appeal to somebody who works at Blizzard. This is somebody who works like a Phil Fish who, made Fez. So this first slide that I'm seeing is like Game Pass broadens the funnel for games. The distribution of player lift, recent Game Pass back catalog titles, 90 days pre versus post entry. So I'm not entirely sure what they're using as a metric for back catalog titles. So I'm assuming games that haven't played in, let's say, 10 days. That gets automatically added to the back catalog category in their statistic. So if we're seeing a median of like 8.3, then I mean, 10's a nice easy round number, so that means 8 days earlier it comes out of the back catalog. So that's a pretty good number, but that means nothing to game developers, because it's like, what does what is a game doing in the back catalog? Like, if that game is not getting reach, it's not getting plays, we're not getting money. So I'm not entirely sure what this graph is supposed to even display and how that affects consumers. Consumers will just inevitably use this number for console warring, but for game developers, I don't even know what this metric is supposed to mean. Like, I've never heard of a back catalog title before prior to this slide, so I don't know. Again, I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Back catalog title would be I mean, that does seem to be just older games. For example, maybe I know this is first party, so it probably doesn't really apply to this particular graph because what do they care? But like, say, Gears of War 2. that's a back catalog game because that's probably been in Game Pass for a long time, and
Hmm.
it's an older game. It's 2 generations old at this point. So I mean, I guess that uh, how that would apply to someone who's going to put probably a brand new game in, or maybe an older game. Like say, if Ubisoft wants to put the Division 1 back into Game Pass, then maybe you would look at like, oh well, this is how older titles are performing. I don't know. Forte, what do you think about this particular? Because now I'm just showing the graphs.
Yeah.
That
I mean, did they
over
use this metric before in like 2016, 2017, 2018?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, as far as my knowledge, this is the first time I've ever seen this specific like unit of measurement.
Got you. Okay, but let's move to the next one. Then there was this other one that talks about Game Pass broadens the funnel for day and date games, which seems to be the biggest
The biggest
draw.
thing that they do, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
to the
Yep.
Game Pass is getting games that are launch games. Like the day the game launches, for example, Rainbow Six Extraction launched in January. I forgot which day in January, but it was also available in Game Pass the same day that it came out. Same thing with Tunic that came out last week. So we see here large publishers. It says there's that 3.5 times where it says launch comps, not Game Pass D&D, and then Game Pass D&D, and then for Idea Xbox creators. Okay, so that's actually a little bit different than what
Yeah.
Benji had wrote in his tweet, because it's not just indies, it's Idea Xbox indie. So like if you not all indie games in Game Pass are Idea Xbox games. So yeah, that's a little bit different, but 15 times. So that might actually be maybe a little bit of a cooking in the books, as they
Yeah.
say there, where you're specifically talking about a subset of games that had already gone through a little bit of promotion with you with ID at Xbox, and then they also launched day and date in Game Pass. And I don't even know how many games have done that that fit that criteria. Maybe like less than 5, maybe.
Well, I mean, let's use like they're just using generic numbers here, but let's just actually fill in those numbers. Let's solve for X here. So large publishers, Xbox daily average user average first 30 days. So the launch competition will be something that's not Game Pass and that's not Game Pass day and date. So let's just use Google Stadia. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
Slow Mo's game, Back for Blood comes out on Stadia and comes out on
Slow-mo got a game coming
Pass.
out.
Yep. So Slow Mo's game comes out on Stadia and it comes out on Game Pass. On judging by this metric, if it comes out on Stadia, then it will be 3.5 times less people that played the game in the first 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
On daily average, first 30 days of that month. So 3.5 sounds like a great number, like 3.5. But like if if 100 people play your game, 350 sounds not that great, but 3.5 sounds pretty good.
Right.
So for large publishers, I mean, this could probably mean something along the lines of like 100. Let's say 100,000 people. That's a pretty even number. So that's the difference between 100,000 people and 350,000 people. Returning it, turning the game back on every single day for the first 30 days. So that's a pretty decent number. But let's look at the ID at Xbox one. It's the ID at Xbox is now using a different metric. It's using the monthly average users average first 90 days. So not only does the metric increase from 30 days to 90 days, now they're separating it from a 30-day interval with a one-time collection pool for the month to a 3-time collection pool for 3 months over the course of 90 days.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. So what is it? Like, why triple the average day pool? To go off of, probably because that number 15 times.
It looks better.
Great. It looks way.
It looks way better.
Right.
15 times is great until you break down the numbers. And let's say your game, Slow Mo's game, is averaging 100,000 users. Well, 1.5 million users is like, man, that's pretty awesome. But 1.5 million users over the course of 90 days, it's still pretty good for an indie game, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
let's be realistic with ourselves here, right? So like, let's say Tunic player numbers. If we grab that, well, let's see, Tunic game. Oops, my bad. If we Google that real quick, let's just use Steam charts and then let's just round that off. All-time peak 4 days ago was 2,500. The game just came out. Players playing right now 1,500. So let's double those numbers for PC and for Xbox as well too. So all-time peak 5,000, and then players right now 3,000. Well, 5,000 times 15 is, oh man, I'm so bad at math. Is 75,000 users.
Mhm.
Like, that sounds great. That is great for an indie game. But if you look at other indie games like Death's Door, that game made like, I don't know, $3 million. Like, that's a lot of users right there. So this like 15 times number is like, obviously, like, again, like I said earlier, it's made by somebody who in marketing. It's not made by somebody who actually cares about numbers. Because there's, if you just actually read the fine print, the Xbox monthly average users first 90 days, like, that means you're just turning the game on for the the first time in the first 90 days of the game's launch day and date on Game Pass. So let's say for Forza, even though it's not a Xbox or ID at Xbox game, let's say for Forza, it launches in October or November. Let's say October. That means,
Yeah, I think. Wait. Well, yeah, Forza like late October, I think was Forza.
okay. So let's just say November. So
Yeah.
if you turn on Forza, download it and play it one time, let's say 1 hour from November to February, it counts for this number. But how many people are actively playing Forza from November to February? Like,
Yeah,
that's
a
a
lot of them
pretty,
played the first 2 weeks.
yeah, a
and
lot
they
of them played
dropped
the
it.
first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I see people on my Xbox playlist or my friends list that only have like, I don't know, 100 hours in the game. And I'm like, that's great and all, but like, the game's been out for 6-7 months now, or 6 months now, and you only have 100 hours in the game. Like, Elden Ring's been out for 2 weeks or 3 weeks now, and I have almost 100 hours in the game. I have 62 hours in the game.
Yeah, I have
So yeah,
150 hours in that game.
yeah. So it's like, if you
Yeah.
increase the metric pool by, let's say 90 days here, like, that number looks astronomical. But I don't know how viable that is for Xbox games. And like you said earlier, ID at Xbox is specifically ID at Xbox creators. So these are creators that have already been funded by Xbox. This isn't me with my racing, simulator game, indie game, with no marketing. They don't count me into the equation. So when people use this number for indie devs as a whole, like, that's wrong. Like, right over here, Benji Sales says for indies 15 times. Like, no, this is specifically for, ID at Xbox creators, which I don't know how many there are, but let's say I think Tunic was. So
Yeah.
this is
They do
Tunic.
have a lot of ID at Xbox creators. Like, but if you look at like last year and this year, out of all the games that they showed at ID at Xbox, how many
Yeah,
of them
yeah.
have already come out? It's probably
Mhm.
not a lot, and a lot of them also weren't in Game Pass at launch. So, because Death's Door was first shown at ID at Xbox.
Yes.
That game didn't launch into Game Pass. It showed up in Game Pass months later. I think in January it did. But like,
And sorry, go ahead.
I was going to do the super chat real quick. Shout out to Light Gamer with the $10 super chat. We appreciate you, sir. And he says, I never get to watch live. Just stopping by to show some support. I'm downloading this and watching it later at work. Appreciate you, bro. Hope you have
Appreciate it, bro.
a easy day at work, man. I understand how it is. Especially if you're working night shift, I definitely have been there
Facts.
before, and never would ever do it again.
Won't do it again.
But we could go to the next slide real quick. Just
Yeah.
like
Well,
release.
all I have to say is that Death's Door wouldn't count for this because while they are an ID at Xbox creator, they did not drop day and date.
Exactly. So that that didn't count as well.
So it
Yeah,
doesn't
didn't drop
it
that.
doesn't. I don't know what this 15 times is supposed to do for us.
The next slide was total value. Game Pass members are willing to invest in their experiences. Members spend 50% more than lookalike users. Spend is higher across all types of transactions. So they show a non-Game Pass lookalike. That's an interesting term there. And
That
then
could be like Stadia, that could be Luna, that could be Shadow PC, that could be, let's say, let's just use Google Stadia. That's a pretty unanimously good one. So Google Stadia, 50% total spending more than people on on
yeah. And
Google Stadia.
And they broke
But
it
let's
down by game add-ons and consumables. The
Mhm.
game 60%, add-ons 45, and the consumables 45% as well.
But if we give actual round numbers, let's say Slow Mo spends $10 on Stadia, that means 60% more is $6. So that means somebody spent $16 on Game Pass. If we look at the actual numbers, like let's say we just fill in the numbers, $16 doesn't sound like a lot of money at all.
So
Like
you
everybody
think that they
everybody
would've
has
been-
$20.
It would have been better served to actually show concrete numbers instead of just percentages.
I mean, it wouldn't assist them in their point.
Mm.
They're here
Yeah.
they're here to sell to people at GDC. They're not here to
Right.
sell to people at sitting at home. You know what I mean?
True,
So
very true.
these
This
slides
is the point
aren't
I was
for
making
us.
last night on Brap is that
Yeah.
none of this is for us. This is for
Yeah.
people at GDC, decision makers, for developers and publishers. This is for them. This is to convince them to start putting more of their games day and date in Game Pass, or to at least shorten that time period for when they think about putting their game into Game Pass, and not just kind of do it as a last ditch effort to kind of save a game after you've already failed the marketing and not got the pre-order numbers that you thought you were going to get, a la what Ubisoft did with Rainbow Six Extraction. Because at that point, it's just like Game Pass ain't really helping you at that point, if anything.
Yeah.
You're going to get some people that's going to, hey, this game wasn't even remotely on my radar. But since it's coming in Game Pass in 2 weeks, sure, I'll download it and install it. So you will get those kind of people to be like,
Yeah.
all right, look, it turned out to not be that bad a game. But like, those people were so far away from actually buying your game that trying it in Game Pass probably isn't going to actually entice them to actually buy your game with that discount that Game Pass gives you. They'll probably just be like, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound like I'm hating on Game Pass, whatever, but like I as a game developer, as a former indie developer, if I'm up there, I want to know what I'm putting my chips into, right? Like
Mhm.
this lookalike service. Okay, so look at the titles, right? Game Pass members are willing to invest in their experiences. Okay, members. But if you look at the actual graph, it says Game Pass member average. So it's a singular member. So not everybody's spending $200 on Game Pass. Like, I mean, I had Game Pass and I bought Forza Horizon 5 and it gave me like a $10, whatever it may be. So, I mean, I'm included in this number as well, too. But like, I don't know. I just think it's misleading for, graphical sake to say that like a singular person would spend 45% more on add-ons, 45% more on consumables. I don't even know what that means. And 60% more on actual games than a non-Game Pass baseline, which would be something like Stadia. But disregarding the fact that Game Pass has 25, 30 million users and Stadia has 1 million users. So obviously the members are going to spend more on Game Pass because there's more members there. There's a larger pool to pull from in Game Pass. So it's like all these percentages look great, but we really, as a game developer and as a person in business, like we really need concrete numbers.
Yeah.
If you're gonna
you think when they say non-Game Pass, like the representative of this, the baseline that is non-Game Pass isn't really saying this is the non-Game Pass person that is on the Xbox platform. It could literally be any platform.
Yeah, it could be anything. When I see non-Game Pass baseline, a non-Game Pass, like when I say non-Game Pass, that's somebody who it's not Game Pass. So that's Google Stadia, Amazon Luna. That's, I don't know, Slow-Mo's garage sale. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it could
Yeah.
be anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean guy who owns an Xbox, like me,
But
guy
doesn't
who
have
owns
Game Pass.
Xbox, but doesn't own Game Pass anymore because, Halo Infinite's free and I already bought Forza. So what do I need Game Pass for? So this, that's not including me because I don't, there's no baseline for me. Like, I'm not a Game Pass user, and I'm not a PlayStation Now user, so I don't fit in the baseline.
Got you. So yeah, last part is the last slide is Game Pass has contributed to the growth of independent developers and publishers, and then we have again ID at Xbox partners total revenues. This is revenues for peer-to-peer games on Xbox.
Oh no, that is pay to play.
Or pay to play.
Or pay. It stands for whenever somebody plays a game, they're paid an X amount, usually pennies on that. And that threshold and I touched about, if nobody in chat has seen it, but I touched about this like months ago on my game subscription tweet. But this is usually pennies on the hour.
Mhm.
So if you play the game for 30 minutes, the game developer doesn't get any money. It has to be a specific metric that Xbox set. And again, this is specifically for ID at Xbox partners. This isn't some
Right.
This isn't some indie person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't I think of another indie game that is on Xbox but not in ID and Xbox. I can't think of anything right now. I don't know, Lawnmower Simulator.
Yeah.
It was on there.
Oh, that was in ID at Xbox?
No, I'm just saying it was in Game Pass.
Oh, it was. All right. Well, yeah. Well. Okay.
I mean, that's a good
that
one.
Works. That
Yeah,
works because
one,
it's not an ID at Xbox game, but it's in Game Pass. So if whatever numbers Lawnmower Simulator has, whether it had great growth or not great growth, it wouldn't be reflected in this graph, in this PowerPoint slide at all, because it's not ID at Xbox partner. I do wonder why they specifically did ID at Xbox partners.
Because it looks good.
Yeah. Okay.
Because those games are on the front page. It looks good.
Yeah,
that's true.
They're marketing them because they work with them. So yeah, maybe this is getting, as you were saying, like this is being marketed to publishers, to developers, and they want, hey, look, get into the ID at Xbox program. Look what ID at Xbox partners are getting that you're not getting as an indie developer, not doing that, So,
but they don't tell you that you have to apply for it, and they could tell you no. So it's like this number doesn't pertain to you if they tell you no. And again, this is something that I touched down on my tweet months ago. It's like when you lean on this large developer to constantly feed you stuff, to constantly give you funding, to give you money, you're eventually going to continue to come back and lean more and more until you either get one, acquired by Microsoft, or two, end up being like, well, I don't have any money left. Can you give me more money? And then ID at Xbox is like, well, we don't have any more money to give you. And this is a case by case situation. Like, there are plenty of indie games that have come out in the last year that are wonderful, that are ID at Xbox games, but there are also thousands of indie games that have come out on Game Pass in the last year that nobody's ever played. Yeah.
I did also want to touch on something that is that I found out that was interesting. So like, I've been kind of following, I'm big on indie games, and there's a turn-based strategy RPG called Lost Eidolons that the first time I saw it was actually at the ID at Xbox show they did last year. And that developer, I've been kind of watching their Q&As where their community manager and one of their devs come out and kind of speak to the people who have been following the game. I'm a part of the Kickstarter, so I have access to the beta, and I already have played the alpha. But I remember in one specific Q&A, they were asked directly, because they were with in ID at Xbox, about whether the game would be in Game Pass at launch, and they didn't specifically say that whether they wanted it to be in there at launch, but they did say they wanted their game in Game Pass, but Microsoft hasn't allowed it to happen. So there is even that where you could see this and be like, oh man, let me get my game into ID at Xbox, and then not actually get any of the benefits of whatever this is supposed to be showing, because they'll let you in the ID at Xbox, but they won't give you the opportunity to be in Game Pass for whatever reason. So it's I don't know what's going on behind the
Weird.
scenes with that, but that was
It's
very interesting to see. The developer there is Ocean Drive Studio. That's the name of the dev for Lost Outer Lines. Go ahead.
but yeah, this graph is ID at Xbox partners total revenue. Okay, so you're looking at specifically the ID at Xbox program revenues for pay to play games on Xbox 2020 versus 2016. And then in the asterisk, it says for ID at Xbox partners that had Game Pass deals, in 2017 to 2020. Okay. So 2016 is their baseline, right? So 2016 is like 100%, $100, whatever, X amount of dollars, right? So the independent developers that have seen triple digit growth to their pay to play titles when comparing to prior of the launch of Game Pass. So you're comparing it to before Game Pass was a thing. How does that make sense? Of course it's going to look better. There's, 20 million people, 30 million people on your subscription service. Like, again, I don't want to I'm not like, I love Game Pass, blah, 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 but I'm not here to trash it. But this is the frank reality of it as an indie developer, as a developer in general. If you're an independent developer and you look at this graph and you're like, man, 300%, that sounds sick, bro. I'm definitely going to sign up. And then you run into an issue where Microsoft signs you and then tells you, no, it's not going to come day and date on Game Pass, which means that, yes, you're an ID at Xbox partner, but because you're not day and date, you don't fall into this graph or the graphs that we showed prior. Or let's say that you're triple growth to their pay-to-play titles, but these games have to have game and add-on revenues and also have to have Game Pass participation payments and bonuses. So that means specifically that they have to accept you in a Game Pass, and you have to be able to get their payment and bonus structure. And then also, this is factoring in the fact that if your game has add-ons, if your game doesn't have add-ons, then that's a chunk of money that you're missing as well too. So let's say you sell an add-on, you sell DLC for $10, and you're an ID at Xbox partner. So that means Xbox takes something like, they give you a 90/10. So out of the $10, you make $10 and they take $1. That's pretty cool. But if your game doesn't have any add-ons, then you don't even get that money anyways. So now you're just relying on the Game Pass participation payments and bonuses, which again, because this is specifically pay to play titles, again, not all of those indie games are pay to play titles. And this is case by case, and we don't know which ones are, because those are developer contracts, NDAs, specifically between Xbox and indies. But let's just say all of them are. If you're making a tenth of a penny per play, per person, per hour, if you look at, let's say Tunic, let's pull that number up from before. There's 5,000 people playing Tunic, right? So at, pennies per hour or whatever, at 5,000, let's say 5,000 hours, right? If we do 5,000 hours and multiply that by a tenth of a penny, you're looking at like $500. That's not a lot.
Yeah, it's not. I'm glad you're breaking it down like that. Shout out to Ramon Terrell with the $5 Canadian. He says the similarities between Game Pass and Kindle Unlimited from consumer to creator is kind of staggering. And even though I always talk up how Ramon's an actor, Ramon's also an author as well. And me and him have had this conversation in DM before. He really broke it down, the struggles that authors have, and when it comes to stuff like Kindle Unlimited and other formats like that. And it's everything that you're saying is really reminding me of a lot of the stuff that he had issues with when it comes to stuff like that. And yeah, this all of this is fascinating in how how it all works, but how similar it is, despite the difference in industry. But the fact that it's still a subscription service, and you got a number of different options within that service, and how everything is designed for you to get compensation. But are you really going to get the kind of compensation they are marketing you to get? Is a whole
Right.
different story. Yeah, man. Forte, you got any thoughts about this, man?
No, I was gonna ask. So what is the game, the target game that will actually, in your opinion, thrive inside of this service?
Again, I touched this on my tweet. I mean, game developers are going to lean on being able to churn out games that are very quick and easy. So you're going to get, unfortunately, people, I hate when people say this, but indie fodder, right? You're going to get games that look a lot alike. You're going to get games that are procedurally generated levels. You're going to get games that are roguelikes. You're going to get games that are simple in art style. You're going to get games that are isometric. Just naming those 4 things, you have Death's Door, you have dang, I can't remember the other game. It's the one where I can't remember it right now. But you have plenty of games. Like Tunic, I think, is also isometric, correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's 2. I don't know. Is the Ascent fall into that
talking about, like,
category as well
Hades
too?
and stuff like that
it's
too?
an
Yes,
isometric,
Hades,
twisted
the Ascent.
shooter.
I don't know. I think Immortality follows into that as well too. Nobody Saves the World, Dead Static Drive. Sable, I think, follows it. Well, Sable, I think, it's kind of 2D, 3D, but it's like isometric. Little Witch in the Woods. You're gonna get games like Trek to Yomi, which I don't want to downplay these games. So, like,
Right.
they're all great games, but there's a reason why they look
Slycrow,
a certain way.
Mortar was very popular when it first came into Game Pass. There's another one that's in Game Pass now, and I can't. Oh man, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm about to pull it up on my phone, because I've seen multiple people talk about how good that game is, and have recommended it to other people. But I think it's a side scroller, actually. Boy, keep talking.
I just like, it's like, it just seems like for Game Pass, it just, when it comes to like the developer side of it, it's like, if you're not having crazy amounts of microtransactions and just a user base that's willing to spend on stuff outside of just playing the game, it's like you're just going to get, so basically you're just going to keep getting games like this that are easy to turn out, that you can actually get in, get out, get the next game in and out, probably release 3 or 4 games over the course of a year and stuff like that. And like, support yourself that way.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk a little bit about, obviously, I applied to ID at Xbox like forever ago, like before I got hired onto Ubisoft in the end of 2017. So in the beginning of 2017, I have a tweet that I can pull up. But I spoke to 12 publishers, and the one that I dislike the most, it is a publisher that we all know and love. They love sports games, and they have 2 letters in their publishing company. They offered me $100,000.
Ars Electronica?
It's something, but they offered me $100,000. They offered to own the IP, and then I make a 82-12 split, or 88-12. So I retain 12% of all sales, and they own my IP, and they only give me $100,000 to make the game. Which, like what does that even mean? Like, what, as a person who's an indie dev who's like starting, let's say I work on this game for like 3 or 4 years, I'm working at a freaking movie theater, I'm making like part-time, like my girlfriend's paying my bills, hello, $100,000 seems like great. I talked about it with my partner in the studio, And he was like, "Oh yeah, this sounds great." And I was like, "No, we need to read the legal print, dude. They own our IP. So that means that like as soon as we fork it over, they can make it a sequel, they can can it, they could, I don't know, we can give them a vertical slice and they could clone it for cheaper in their internal studio, and then they could just pay me $100,000 to steal my IP."
Mm.
Like they could do so much with just like, that's a scary amount of power when you're looking at a dev who spent several years working on something that have seen no money, and then they offer like $100,000. So when you look at these ID at Xbox programs and other programs like Stadia and other things, like again, I spoke to 12 publishers, and a lot of them told me the same thing: an 80-20 split, an 88-12 split. Epic actually was super freaking awesome. They were going to do a 92-8 split, but the funding was only up to $1 million, provided that I had a staff of 25 and had turned in a monthly revenue or a monthly expense sheet, which is like, bro, I can't hire 24 people in the course of a month by myself. You know what I mean? So that,
Right.
while that sounded great, it was like those goals are inachievable for any indie dev.
Mm.
And I can't just
Mm.
hire my friends, because then the expense sheet is going to look like, it's not going to look real.
Yeah, yeah. The game I was talking about real quick was Young Souls. So you guys heard of Young Souls?
Mm-mm.
Okay, yeah, but that's a game that's been pretty popular in Game Pass recently. So I guess that might be when they do another slide, they'll be adding the Young Souls in there for revenue of 2022, whatever it may be. I actually what you're talking about in regards to publishers and how publishers treat indie developers and with these contracts that are just completely one-sided and almost make you kind of wonder like why even bother. Is I saw a developer who did not out the publisher who did this to or attempted this to him, but he's an indie developer. He has been showing his game at stuff like PAX and stuff like that, and he got a publisher coming to him
Mm-hmm.
offering to publish his game for him. And when he said, well, like, look, I'm not really all that interested, but send me over something, I'll take a look, and we'll see where it goes. And when they sent him the contract, he was just like flabbergasted at the audacity of it all. He was just like, wait a minute. And he actually, like, I saw this Twitter thread. This was like sometime last year, but he broke it down, like, from like in each tweet that in this Twitter thread where he was breaking down a part of the contract that was just ridiculous. And a lot of the stuff that you're bringing up about the fact that he could not, they did allow him to retain his IP, but only under the basis that he met certain deadlines. If he missed any deadlines, if he missed any kind of milestones, that the IP would be the ownership of IP would transfer over to the publisher. And it almost seemed like he felt like that was like a gotcha kind of deal. Like, yeah, we'll get you to sign on because you think you're going to keep your IP, but we haven't got as far as to actually discuss what these milestones are and if they're even realistic or reasonable. So, like, more than likely, if the game development is like 3 years long, at some point in time, like, we might have to delay the game. So what a delay of the game means that I lose my IP. So it's just like little things like that made him really side-eye the deal. And going back and forth with one of their producers, like, they were actually shocked by his pushback, which shocked me, because I would think anybody who would take the time to want to make their own game, this is their baby, this is something that they have like created out of their brain or a group of people's brains, and they really want most seems to me like most indies are very passionate about the game that they're making. And for you to not, it seems to be most people don't. Maybe they're not reading their contracts, but the fact that they were shocked that he would have like these bullet points of problems with that contract, and that if those aren't addressed, that's nothing that we can even talk about. That's kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Like I always tell people, and this is something that I actually heard from a fellow dev, Luis Antonio. He used to work for Ubisoft back in the day, and he actually left Ubisoft pretty recently to start up a small indie game that's published by Annapurna Interactive called
Oh,
12
okay.
Minutes.
I like Annapurna.
And
Oh
yeah,
yeah, 12 minutes. Yeah.
12
Look.
minutes. And he's an awesome guy. I spoke to him briefly, but he actually it's so funny because I asked him the one question. I said, when was the moment you thought to yourself that this was real, that you made it, that you can do this?" And he
Mm-hmm.
said that the time that he was working at Ubisoft, he had a side project, and we all have side projects as developers. Like it is what it is. But he had this awesome side project, and he was shelling it out at PAX and other things, and people were really confused. And this developer stepped in, and this developer, being on one of the big three, a certain color, um, they asked, they stepped in, they went to give him some funding. They didn't really double down on it because he hadn't had like the 5 or 6 levels to prove or anything. He just had a vertical slice.
Hmm.
And at the time, he had taken that money and he had went and asked, I can't remember which, The Witness. He worked on The Witness. He had came over to another indie studio, and asked the guy from The Witness and say, "Hey, what do you think about this deal?" And at the time, ID at Xbox and other things in Stadia and PlayStation's indie initiative was all coming up. Annapurna had just became a thing. Devolver Digital was just like big in the indie scene, so it's like everybody was getting a contract, everybody was getting a deal. So he had asked the guy from The Witness, he said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And the guy from The Witness told him this piece of advice. He said, I was like, "Google it." And Lewis was like, "What?" And he said, "No, Google it. If you don't hear anything bad, if you don't hear anything on the internet bad, no bad publicity about whatever contract you're getting, whatever company you're working for, then it is too good to be true." So he took the easy way out and he met the deadlines and he took the initial money payment up front, to hire PR and marketing and other things. And then he just bounced from contract to contract. And he created 12 minutes over the course of 4 to 5 years. And then he eventually landed on Annapurna Interactive, which actually gave him a really, really good deal. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was the answer that he gave me when I asked him about that specific situation. And again, it's crazy to think that indie devs are walking into studios of other indie devs to talk shop about things that are going on inside the space. But this is something that consumers won't ever know because they don't talk to devs, and two, they don't this isn't like a lot of consumers are more concerned with the AAA games. So indie games, like, people call them indie fodder. They call them GamePass trash. They call them a bunch of different names. But it's like to us, indie devs and smaller devs or whatever, these are our livelihoods. So we really have to take it with a grain of salt when somebody comes in and says, "Hey, here's $100,000. Here's $500,000. Here's this and that." And it's crazy to me to think that when you have situations like that, large companies prey and prey on these smaller things. Like you said, like it did not surprise me when you were like, "Yeah, yeah, this is a crazy requirement deadline. Like if you miss this deadline, we own your IP." Like that's just stuff that companies do so that they can just screw people over.
Mm. Yeah. And that's
Wow.
the thing is that like another uh shoot, what was it? What's the guy's people can fly or
Yep.
Outriders. By the way, well, two things, real quick, because you mentioned when you said Luis Antonio, I'm like that name sounds familiar. And then when you said 12, he did 12 minutes. I was like, oh, that's why that name sounds familiar. Uh, very interesting game. It's
I mean, I have my personal opinions on the game, but
Yeah,
I mean, like
we
he's
might,
a really
we might want to talk off.
yeah, but he's a really good dude. He's a really good dude, and he has a lot. He's a host of knowledge, and he's not too much older than me. I think he's only like 6 or 7 years older than me. But it's like he really went through it developing 12 minutes.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine
yeah.
considering how long it took him to finally get it out. That like there was a lot of like turmoil and a lot of stuff going on back there. I think more of like the big reveal, if you know what I'm talking about in that game.
Mhm.
You kind of be like, Louis, what are you
Man,
doing?
what the hell are you thinking, man? Yeah, bro.
What's
Like,
wrong
I don't
with
even
you?
know, dude. I don't even know, man.
But like Outriders as well. I've had some issues with just how that game launched, but that like people can fly. We still don't know if People Can Fly has ever been paid by Square Enix.
That's scary, isn't it? Like
Right.
that's
That is
scary.
crazy.
And
the
this
game
isn't
has been out for almost a full year now, and we still don't know if they ever got a dime for that game. So much so to the point where, look, that game launched in Game Pass. So Microsoft gave somebody a bag. And
It's
it wasn't
still in
People
Game
Can Fly.
Pass.
Yeah, you got to think about it like this. Like
Game's
Microsoft
been in
struck
Game
a deal.
Pass since it came out.
Right.
Microsoft struck a deal with somebody, and then Square, like because it's a Square Enix title or whatever it may be, it's like they're already previously funded by another company. So it's like there's just too many hands in the bag right now, and then next thing you know, checks aren't getting cut and people aren't getting paid.
Yeah, they essentially what Square Enix did was they took that money that they got from Game Pass and they put that in a different category. You have like your accounting sheet and and they said
Yeah.
we could put this in the sales category.
Yeah, we put that in the embezzlement category.
Yeah, we're gonna put that in the you not ever getting paid categories. This is our money. You don't get any of this, sir. So their contract was based upon once sales had hit enough of I guess a point where it had then paid off of the expenses of developing the game.
Once they broke even, yeah.
Yeah, once they broke even, then a percentage, a significant percentage of game sales would then go to People Can Fly. The problem here is that the vast majority of sales happen in the first 90 days of the game.
Yep.
So now you're really banking on very, very small sales to finally get you over that hump to the break even point. And then
remember,
that,
if it's in Game Pass, this is the key feature here that they really got screwed over on. Because it's in Game Pass, there is a large majority of players who play the game that did not buy it.
Oh yeah, there was people that literally, as soon as they got allowance for Game Pass, either like went out and canceled pre-orders, and the developer went out and literally told people, "Hey, don't cancel your pre-orders," and they ended up giving people special in-game items and stuff if they actually purchased the game at retail or on their system or anything,
and
due to the fact that they didn't want to do that.
And the consumer is thinking to ourselves like, hey, these guys are for the people, all while inside the office they're like, bro, this is our money on the line, like we could all be fired next month because of this,
right? Which has gone to the eventual point where People Can Fly came out and they spoke publicly and said that going forward, once they are done with all contractual obligations, which is like whatever expansions they're doing for Outriders and the other game that they're working on, I don't think Square Enix is the publisher for that, but going forward, everything they do will be self-published by People Can Fly, which is them saying, if we go get a bag for Game Pass, we're getting the bag for Game Pass. Like it's not Square Enix, swimming in that Microsoft money off of the sweat and blood that we put into this game, whether it works or not. So I think that's I think this entire discussion has been fascinating in regards to just like what happens to developers, and they're really kind of all brought up by Game Pass at GDC and what really all that meant and what it was really about, which is as we both said, and it's marketing. It's marketing to get these publishers to sign on to their service and to and whether it's like and look, I'm not trying to, for anyone thinks like we're singling Microsoft out or anything. This is not like unique to them. Everyone does this. I made the analogy last night on Brap about AMD, how AMD will, show off their new GPU, and then they'll do these slides of like measurements of
Oh man,
performance.
I love those slides, man.
They're great, aren't they? Like let's do a slide for the Division 2. As one of the 5 games that we're like, the Division 2 is old as crap. Why are you showing this game as a comparison? Like, why are you showing Battlefield 4 up there? Like, what the heck why are you got these old games up here? Oh, because those were like, developed with very closely with AMD, and for certain that those games outperform Nvidia. But what about like 50 other games that don't?
And it's always percentages, like
Yeah.
it's always percentages. So like it's crazy that like, somebody could say like in reality, like 6 frames a second. It's like, oh yeah, you got a 6 frames a second advantage at 60 frames, right? Well, if you say 10%, man, that's a buzzword. That turns into a buzz phrase real quick. Bro, AMD is 10% better than Nvidia.
Right.
But disregarding the fact that 1, it's a 4-year-old, 5-year-old game, and 2, it's 6 frames a second.
All the small print where they had SAM enabled, which means that you better have a AMD CPU.
Yep.
with SAM enabled on it in order to get that kind of boost just for those particular games. And then that's why I always tell people, forget what they say, even forget what Nvidia says, because Mr. Leather Jacket
Oh my God,
pulling GPUs out of ovens in the kitchen and whatnot and being all flashy. But how about them prices, bro? Right? Like, you just look, you forget what they say, wait until the product drops, and then see what those who don't have they don't have any skin in this game
media
have
bias.
to say. Yeah, like the hardware unboxes and the gamer Nexuses guys. See what they say when they take that product and they put it in a test rig and see what the actual numbers say. And that's that's really what it comes down to. Everyone has an angle. Everyone's marketing something, and just because it's not an actual physical product that Microsoft is marketing, that service is their bread and butter. It's what they want everyone to be in on. They want everyone to subscribe to it, and they want all the developers to want to put their games in it. And so they're going to try to show you numbers, and those numbers are inaccurate or anything. It's just that how relevant are they? And that's what's the more important thing there is, are those numbers relevant to you as a developer or publisher? Me and Forte aren't, Deli is. And, so that's why Deli asked the kind of questions that he asked earlier were very, very important questions that none of us really have the answers to. Only ones who really do is Microsoft. And, if those answers were great and really showed a lot of promise, they would have had PowerPoint slides for them too, right?
Oh yeah, of course. They would have had actual metrics up there, you know what I mean?
Right.
But when you the only people who are disclosed to this information is Microsoft and the people in the room with Microsoft. So again, isn't it suspicious that nobody says anything weird about Game Pass? And Game Pass has been out for 6 years. Everything on the internet is, oh, Game Pass is for the devs, Game Pass is for devs. And it probably is. These devs are getting rich. Every dev is getting rich. That's not true. Not every dev is getting rich, because if you look at their own graphs, it says specifically ID at Xbox partners. Then you hear horror stories. Oh, well, they didn't accept our game. What do you mean? Oh yeah, well, they accepted our game, they accepted our application, they funded our entire development, and then they didn't put it in Game Pass, so we didn't make any money.
It is what it is. We are
very.
We have gone.
We done went long. That was a good conversation, though. That's why.
It's a very good conversation. Let's go ahead and start to wrap this up. I just want to shout out everybody that has come through tonight. We really appreciate the live chat here. I appreciate the mods who have told all the live webcam hot girls here at XXX
singles accounts. In my area?
Singles in my area here? Really? You know, the DMV, like all those bots. Thank you for getting them up out of here. We really appreciate everybody being on top of it when I've been kind of like managing things. I haven't been able to see it. But that's it. We will get on out of here. Try to wrap this up. Forte. Well, first before I go to Forte, Deli, thank you for coming through once again. Every time you show up, you always educate us on just not just everything about game development, but just like the process of how games are made, how they are like the managed and everything, and just I'm just so glad that I always have you on because it's not just beneficial for the audience, but it's been beneficial for us here too because we get to learn so much from you. So really thank you for coming through once again, and let everyone know where they can find you and what you got going on in the future.
Yeah, hello guys. Thank you guys for having me back. I really appreciate that. Again, thank you guys for having me back and specifically just letting me talk about games and the industry and stuff. Because, I've been on other podcasts and other podcasts will ask me things like, I don't know, what'd you do in your game? Like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about the projects I'm working on because I can't. I can't talk about this. I can't talk about that. I can't. I'm not going to give you the tea or the shade about a certain company. Like, I just want to talk about games and I just want to talk about the stuff that I like, which is games, the technology, and the industry. So I'm always happy to be on here, and again, always grateful to be a reoccurring guest. But you guys can find me on Twitter at Agent Deli. I'm sure my link is in the description. I tweet about game dev stuff. I tweet about stuff that I like. I'm surprisingly like a normal human being on Twitter, so I'll tweet about like music, movies that I watch, games that I play, stuff that I do on the daily. So yeah, it's nothing too exciting over there, but every now and then I'll talk about if a huge topic comes up, I'll definitely give my insight on it. Yeah, I'm always grateful to have interactions on Twitter as well too. So if you guys have any questions for me after the show or anything, just leave them on Twitter, and I'll try to get I'll try to get them to the best of my ability.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Forte, what you got going on, man?
Oh man, what don't I got going on? Working on some rebranding stuff for the channel, working on some videos and stuff like that. Getting into Elden Ring, listening to you guys geek out about all the subjects you're talking about, which was great because I love when you guys get this, you get this conversation going and I can just sit back and like, man, I just learned like 50 things I didn't know today. And it's always good to have Deli on board. But for me, man, everybody know where they can find me. Gaming Forte, YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation. Make sure you check out DPS 77 next week on my channel. But Slomo, always an amazing job in what you be doing on this channel. Really always impressed with your candor and your expertise and the stuff that you talk about. And we will see you guys next week for another episode.
Definitely. Thank you, sir. I actually, for me, expect within the next day or two a review of Elden Ring out, and I can tell you now it's going to be at least 20 minutes long.
I'm so excited, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch it at work.
I'm gonna go deep. Pause in this one. It's
Deep.
I as a non From Software like fanboy, I feel like it's kind of like I just wanted to do a video from the perspective of just like some random thoughts of me just rambling for a few minutes about how what I do like and dislike about Elden Ring. And then as I started to work on it, I just started to think, yo, this is starting to kind of turn into like an ACG kind of video, like an ACG kind of review where I'm just breaking down certain aspects of like a game in particular, just like story, sound design, performance, visuals, combat, bosses. And I just said, you know what? I should just make this a review. And so now, yeah, I'm about a good 25% of the way through that. I had a lot of things to do today, especially with prepping for the show today. But do expect to see that review out either tomorrow or Saturday. I would definitely say Saturday on the latest. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. I do apologize for not doing lunchtime with slow-mo as often as I would like to. Work has been really, really busy over the past 2 weeks, and it's probably going to be like that again next week. If as long as I'm still kind of working on the current projects that I'm working on right now at work. But once I get my lunches back the way I would like, where people aren't, hitting me up randomly and needing me to save something every 30 minutes, I can actually go live and not have to go BRB every 15 minutes, and that would be a really bad stream. So that's why I haven't been streaming. So I will get back to that soon. No worries there. But just want to once again thank Deli for coming through. Anytime you wanted to just like pop up, sir, just let us know. Don't just jump in impromptu like the guy that just shows up to your house without saying they're coming through. But anytime,
Oh yeah, no, not like that.
But no, I'm joking. Anytime you want to come through, sir, you are more than welcome. Just let us know, man, and we got you. Forte,
Yo,
appreciate you as always.
yo, what
sir.
about Forte?
I just want to say
you're
appreciate
welcome.
you as always, sir. Yeah, and again,
well,
and again,
I thought you were about to say. I thought you was asking me to do outros again. Like, huh?
No.
Although
Although I do like. How far are you in Elden Ring?
how far? Oh, I literally just started. Not even an hour.
Okay, all right. Well, anytime you want some, you want to do some co-op.
Oh no, I will be hitting you up. This time I'll make sure I don't repeat mistakes that some people made and drop weapons on the ground and get them leveled up.
If you want some runes, if you're on PlayStation, if you want some runes, I got you, bro. I got it.
Deli, why you on PlayStation? I got PlayStation 2. I got that. I got
like 200,000 runes I'm not using.
Oh man, I feel blessed. I have friends.
That 200,000 runes is just one level up for me right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous right now. But for Forte, it could be like 40 levels.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Very true.
That's what I'm saying. I got friends, man. I called Slow-Mo like 3 weeks ago. Said, Slow-Mo, are we friends? And he was confused. Now you know why.
Very confusing conversation. I don't know why you were kind of talking.
It was just random, and I left it at
confirmation.
Well, I mean, I gave it to him. He got confirmation. He still got a lot of questions. Like, what's going on with you right now?
I still never answered that question. Why I asked you that, didn't I?
No, you didn't. But
okay.
You don't have to. It's fine. All right, we're getting up out of here, y'all. Have a great night. Hope you guys have a great weekend. If we don't talk to you before then, and as always, enjoy your games. Peace.
And enjoy that Scumcast episode that's gonna be in 2 days.
Yeah. Do that too. All right. We're out. Peace.